time, Judge. You may be seated.
Who's Powell?
Me.
Stand over there. Who's McCormick?
Right here.
Ray. You may stay. Whitfield.
Me?
It was your truck.
Yeah. Yes.
You didn't see what happened to it. You just saw the aftermath.
Yes.
And you didn't witness what happened to it, Mrs. Voss. Is that correct?
That's correct. I only heard it.
It is your claim, however, that these 4 young people, while in a state of drunken intoxication, decided to use your son's truck for baseball practice, whatever, totally destroying it. There was one other person allegedly involved who, according to your complaint, has in fact made some restitution to you for the damage.
That's
Is that right?
correct.
How much did you receive from this Russell person?
$240.
And what was the full extent of the damage to the truck?
$1,199.45.
Okay, so let's start out. You are in your home, it's the 24th of April, it's in the evening,
Correct.
and what did you hear?
I was sleeping and I was awakened to a bunch of just noise. At the time, I thought it was garbage cans or street signs, people banging on it. Got up, went into the kitchen, and kind of went outside on the front porch. At that time, I saw some children. It was dark. I couldn't identify them. Further down the street at what I thought was knocking over a garbage can. I saw 3 children at that time pass by, 2 on one bicycle and 1 running behind.
When you say children, you mean little children?
No, I'm sorry. Teenage children.
Male or female?
I could not identify them.
Go ahead.
I went out to retrieve the garbage can. When I got to the bottom of the steps, that's when I heard somebody yell to kick the truck. So knowing my son's truck was parked down the street, I went into the street. And it's that time I saw my son's truck out of the assigned parking spot, actually pushed out and turned in the street so that I can see it at the end of the road. And there was just banging on it. I couldn't tell how many were around it because it was sideways in front of me. I don't know who was behind it, but I could hear that same noise that woke me up. So I yelled at them to get away from the truck, and they fled.
How many people did you see fleeing?
The light, it was dark. I really, honestly could not tell you.
Was it more than one?
Yes, and probably more than 2. I can honestly say more than 2.
Did you go down to inspect the truck?
At that point, I yelled for them to get away as I was running towards the truck, and then I went back to call the sheriff.
So you didn't go to the truck, you didn't go anywhere near there?
No, it was dark.
That's smart. And you waited for the sheriff in your home?
At that point, I woke my husband up. He went down to the truck, and we waited for the sheriff at the time.
You went with him?
Yes.
What did you see when you got down there?
Just the truck in the middle of the road with the window broken. At that point, it was dark. It was hard to see how much body damage was done.
What time of the evening was this?
It was after midnight. I believe it was approximately midnight when I called the sheriff. My son came home. He was not home at the time. He arrived when the sheriff arrived. And then he called some of his friends to let them know what happened to the truck, and they all kind of slowly came over in groups. And they also started walking around the complex to see if they can find any types of signs of who possibly could have done the damage.
What makes you believe it was any of these 4 people involved?
My son came across 2 of the defendants.
Which 2?
It was Russell and Tacey and Ed.
So you came across Russell, Miss Ray, and Mr. Powell.
Yes.
No,
And what?
right here.
You're McCormick?
Yes.
Change places with him. Stop confusing me. And what happened when you came across these 2 and Russell?
I told my mom that they're here, that they're around my truck, they're around our house, so my mom called the cops.
What do you mean they were around your truck?
They were, no, not around the truck, but with us. They hung out with us for a while, and we kept them there until the cops came.
What made you think that they had anything to do with your truck?
Because they were telling us that they bashed in some truck.
They were telling who?
Me and my friends that they were drunk and the cops were out looking for them.
Who said that they had bashed in a truck?
Tacey.
Miss Ray. You heard Miss Ray say they were drunk and they had bashed in a truck?
Not me, my friends told me.
You can't tell me what your friends told you.
No.
So you waited until the police arrived? You called the police?
Mm-hmm.
Were you there when the police came?
Yeah, but then
What happened when the police came?
they told me to go inside, and then they handled it.
Did you speak to the police, Miss Ray?
Yes, I did.
What did you tell them?
I said that we were all drunk, me, Russell, and Edward, and I said that Russell had messed up the truck.
So you put it all on Russell.
Yeah.
Was Russell there?
Yes, he was, but he did not harm the truck.
Did you just tell me you told the police that Russell messed up the truck?
Yes.
So you lied to the police.
Yes, I did.
Why did you lie to the police?
Because I was drunk and they were hammering me with all these questions and they wouldn't let me say I don't know. They had to give names or else they wouldn't have let me gone. And so that was the first name that came to mind because I looked over at him and I said Russell. Because it was the easiest way to get me out of the situation.
What were you all doing out there drunk?
It was just a Friday night and
Friday night drunk. I never put that down on my calendar. Now, Miss Ray, we do know about this truck, however.
yeah.
Right. You were there when this truck was pushed out into the street, correct?
No, that's not correct.
Are you telling me that you did not see this truck pushed out into the street and damage caused to the truck?
We were not there at that time.
You were not there. So you just told the police a big fat lie.
Yes, I did.
Now, when you told the police a big lie, did you tell them just the way you're telling me now?
Yes, I did.
In the same directness?
Yes.
Were you still intoxicated at that time?
Yes, I was.
What had you had to drink that night?
I had a beer and some shots of 50-50, I think.
And when did you stop drinking?
I couldn't tell you. I don't really remember.
Where did you have shots of 50-50?
At this old abandoned house down the road.
How old are you?
14.
How many people were at this old abandoned house?
It was all of us in Russell.
Is that the first Friday night that you had gone to that house?
Yes, it has.
When you say yes, it was, are you saying that with the same conviction and with the same straight face as you told the police that it was Russell that had caused the damage?
Yeah.
No, that was the first
I'm not. Do I look at you? Are you saying it with the same conviction?
Conviction.
With the same honesty?
Oh, no.
So when you told the police, you had a dishonest look on your face?
Yes.
As if you were telling them a lie?
Yes. As if
All
I
right,
were
just a second. I'm not finished with you here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Who brought the booze?
I don't know.
Don't really remember. It was just chill.
Nobody remembers. Don't ever think you can get over on me. Ever. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Chris Walsh and his mother, Michelle Vose, say teenagers Tacey Ray, Dan Whitfield, Zach McCormick, and Edward Powell vandalized his truck. The teens say they didn't do it.
So based upon your lie to the police that you indicate to me, Miss Ray, you were drunk and you had the look on your face of someone who was making up a story, right?
Yes.
The police took Russell into custody.
Yes.
Now, when you saw that they were taking Russell into custody, did you see them put Russell in handcuffs?
Ew. Yes, ma'am, I think so.
Did you see him being placed in a patrol car?
Yes, I did.
Was he placed in the front seat or the rear seat?
The rear.
Was there another police officer with him in the rear seat?
No, there wasn't.
How many police officers were in the front seat?
There was none. They were still out questioning us.
When they concluded questioning, how many police officers got into the police car?
I'm pretty sure one of them did.
And the other one stayed out, still
Yes,
talking
they
to
were.
you?
They were bringing me and Ed. They were taking care of us.
What do you mean they were taking care of you?
Because they caught us being drunk in public.
Oh. Now, I must tell you, Miss Ray, you tell a very cogent story. Your memory seems to be very, very precise with every detail about something that happened 6 months ago for somebody who was really terribly intoxicated that night. Do you understand what I'm saying to
Yes,
you?
I do.
Good. Now, Russell was in fact arrested on this charge. Is that correct?
I couldn't tell you if he was arrested.
Well, let's try, because Russell must have contacted you at some time after Russell sobered up and said to you, why did you put the blame on me for something that I had nothing to do with?
Yes, he did. He called me.
Of course he did, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. Did you say to him, what happened, Russell?
Yeah.
Did he tell you he was arrested?
Yes.
Did he tell you he was charged with vandalism?
Well, a month ago, when they first gave us the charges, we all knew.
Did Russell plead guilty to vandalism?
Yes, he did.
Interesting. Now, I assume Russell was sober at the time that he pled guilty to vandalism. Judges usually do not accept guilty pleas from intoxicated defendants. So you mean you made up this story about Russell?
And
since
everyone
you were,
else.
just a second. I'm not finished with you yet, Miss Ray. So you made up the story out of whole cloth about Russell, that he was the one who damaged the truck. And Russell decided to plead guilty to damaging the truck, even though it wasn't him. That's what you said. Russell didn't do anything, but I just looked over to him, and he was there. I saw him, and I decided to say it was Russell. That's what you told me a minute ago. So now Russell decides to go along with your fictitious story, plead guilty to vandalism, and pay restitution. Is that where we're at? You understand what I'm saying to you? Good! Don't ever think you can get over on me. Ever. Now we're going to start all over again. Now we're going to start with Mr. Powell. What grade are you in school?
I graduated last year.
Mr. McCormick,
Yes.
how old are you?
18.
Who bought the 50-50 junk? I need an answer. There were only the four of you and old Russell. Who brought the booze?
Tell you the truth, Honor. The
Don't listen
alcohol-
to me. Don't start out by saying to me, I'll tell you the truth. Give me an answer. Who brought the booze?
I don't know.
Let's go back to Miss Ray. Was Mr. Powell with you that evening?
Yes, he was.
Was Mr. McCormick with you that evening?
Yes, he was.
Was Mr. Whitfield with you that evening?
Yes, he was.
Was Russell with you that evening?
Yes, he was.
You were all together?
Yes.
What time did you arrive at the old abandoned house?
About 4 p.m.
I didn't ask you a thing. What time did you arrive at the old abandoned house?
4:30.
In the afternoon?
Yes.
From 4:30 in the afternoon until 11:30 that evening, did you remain in the house?
Yes.
And while you were there, did you consume anything other than the alcohol?
We had some marijuana.
So the five of you were together in the house for approximately 6 hours consuming alcohol and marijuana. Is that correct?
Yes.
And there came a time when you left.
Yes.
Who left first?
Zach McCormick, Ed Powell, and Dan Whitfield.
Where did they go?
They went to a friend's house.
What time did they return?
I couldn't tell you, somewhere around dark.
It was dark then. It was midnight.
Well, then I guess midnight, after the truck had already been pulling out and everything.
After the truck. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Uh-huh. So that left you, Miss Ray, and old Mr. Russell at the house, right? Now, did you stay at the house?
No, we did not.
Where did you go?
We went back to my house.
But there did come a point where at some period of time around midnight that you all hooked up again.
Yes.
And you all hooked up again somewhere around where this truck was.
Yes.
And that's when you told the police that it was old Russell who did damage to the truck.
Yes.
Because you just wanted to get him off your back. Is that right?
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You having a good time?
I am.
Okay.
Aren't you?
I'm having a good time.
I eat morons like you up for breakfast. Stupid.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tacey Ray, Dan Whitfield, Zach McCormick, and Edward Powell deny the charge of vandalizing Chris Walsh's truck. Chris has brought a surprise witness who says they did it.
Now, Mr. Powell,
Yes.
if I were to ask you the same questions that I asked Miss Ray, would your answers be the same?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick, if I were to ask you same questions, would your answers be the same as Miss Ray's?
Similar.
In what respect dissimilar, sir?
Everything's the same except the part where she says that, actually, it's been quite a while. It's almost been 7 months, Your Honor.
So just say, I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember. It's
Good.
not the same.
Then just say nothing else. Now, Mr. Whitfield, if I were to ask you the same questions as I posed to Miss Ray, would your answers be similar or dissimilar?
Similar, yeah, except the weed part.
Except the what?
Except the marijuana.
You denied that there was any marijuana smoked in the old house.
I don't deny that. I'm just saying that that wasn't a part of my routine.
Your routine was only drinking.
I was just there drinking, having fun.
So you did not partake in the marijuana.
No.
But there was marijuana there.
Yeah.
Who brought it?
Don't really remember. It was just chilling.
Nobody remembers. Nobody remembers how the marijuana got there, and nobody remembers how the booze got there. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, You are telling me the truth, are you not, Mr. Whitfield, that you do not remember who brought the marijuana?
Yes.
Is that as truthful, sir, as all the other statements that you made today?
Yes.
Now, Miss Ray, do you recall who brought the marijuana?
Yes, I did.
Honest. Now, Mr. McCormick, do you recall who brought the alcohol?
No, I do not, Your Honor.
Is that answer as honest as all the other answers you've given me today?
Yes, it is.
This was so easy.
You having a good time?
I am.
Okay.
Aren't you?
I'm having a good time.
You should have read the answers that they wrote. Mr. Powell,
Yes.
do you recall who brought the alcohol?
No, I don't.
Is that answer as honest as all the other answers you gave me today?
Yes.
Your Honor, I also have another witness that actually spoke. That was one of my son's friends that was there when they confessed that they did
Oh,
that.
I would love to hear that witness. It would make me feel only slightly better. Would you bring in a witness? Name? Would
And
you give him the name?
I'm Christy Gashel.
Christy Gashel.
I understand that you have information regarding an incident that occurred on the 24th of April of this year involving damage to the Voss truck.
Yes.
What information do you have?
I was at my friend David's house when he got a call from Chris, and Chris told David that someone just beat in his truck. So me, David, and my friend Jennifer went over to Chris's house, and we walked around and we were looking for the people that did it. And Tacey Ray came over. She jumped out of the bushes and told me that she and her friends just beat in a truck. And my friend Jennifer went and told Michelle that we have some people. So
Did you have any other conversation with Miss Ray other than the fact that she says that she and some of her friends beat in the truck?
no. And she told me that if the cops asked, she was with me the whole night.
So she asked you to be her alibi?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Thank you very much.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Listen, you four people made my job so easy. I haven't had that good a time cross-examination in about 4 years. I read your answers. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I was someplace else. I was in Canada. I was on the Mir space station. I don't know. I didn't have anything to do with it. Nothing, 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 nothing. The damage to your truck, the difference is $959. Maybe the four of you have parents who you think are stupid. And maybe some of you have been before the criminal justice system previously and have found other members of the criminal justice system stupid. I eat morons like you up for breakfast. Judgment is entered for the plaintiff to be divided by 4. Thank you.
Parties are excused. Bent versus Richardson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Bent, the defendant is your brother?
Yes.
And yours wife?
Yes.
This is your husband?
Yes.
According to what I've read, you were living in a house that you owned.
Yes.
And you were moving to a new house.
Yes.
You and your brother made an arrangement where they signed a lease to move into your old house.
Right.
With his family. You were expecting your first child.
Yeah.
When was that lease signed?
Lease was signed on the 15th of June,
And when were you supposed to move in?
the 16th of June.
And what was the rent?
Rent is $550.
Can I see the lease, please? So you really rented this home with an option to buy it.
Right.
Did you, in fact, deliver the $750 security deposit?
Yes, I did.
Is that correct?
Yes, he did.
And you moved in when, sir?
I did move in on the 17th of June.
Is that correct?
No, he actually did move in the 16th that afternoon.
Doesn't make any difference, but the problem arose that the home that you were going to move into somehow fell through.
Yes, it did.
So that you said, fine, I signed this lease, I took you $750, but we're staying with you.
Well, that's not the way it went, but
No, that's what happened.
yes.
You didn't move out.
Right.
They moved in, you were supposed to move out by the end of the month,
Yes.
and you never moved out.
Right.
And you want them to pay rent.
Yes.
They did, in fact, pay rent in addition to the $750. For how many months?
He paid for July, and he paid the first half of August.
Are you still living there?
Yes.
Are you still living there?
Yes.
Oh, wonderful. You have to move out.
We own the house.
Not for the next year, you don't. You leased your apartment to these people for 1 year.
Yes, Your Honor.
In consideration of that, they moved in, paid you a
Yes.
security deposit.
Yes.
I assume that you wanted this lease in writing?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
You insisted on that.
Yes.
So you wanted everything strictly legal.
Yes, we did.
You got to move out.
They haven't followed any of the lease
You
law.
got to move out. I know you think that that's funny.
No, I think
You
it's
want
crazy.
him to pay rent.
He hasn't paid. He stopped paying.
Let me explain something to you.
Okay.
He's absolutely right. The fact that he paid rent for the entire month of July and gave you any money at all for September is terrific. He's a wonderful sport.
Not.
You got to move out and find a place to live. Unless you want to pay him out and say, listen, we have a real problem here. I'll give you $2,500 to go move someplace because we have no place to go now. But other than that, you have to move.
Your Honor, he has violated that lease over and over again.
No.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
want to stay in your house.
Well, no, we didn't. The house that we actually tried to purchase another house.
Yeah.
Not just the one that was the original house that we were going to purchase. And that house, because of what they had done to us, that whole thing also fell through.
What do you mean what they
That's
did to
not
you?
correct.
What, like, what did they do to you?
First of all, his cat destroyed my home.
Oh, he didn't destroy your home. I read that.
Yes,
I
he
read that
did.
nonsense.
He did. I have
Go ahead.
pictures. He
Go
destroyed
ahead.
the home.
Go ahead.
He called the police on me and tried to have me arrested for assault and told the police that he was going to have my Child Protective Services to have my children taken from me, and he threatened my children.
That's not
Just
correct.
a second. What does that have to do with buying a second house?
Because what I'm saying is all the different things that were going on, they weren't paying the rent that they agreed to pay. He
You
agreed.
were living in their home, madam. I
It's
never
our
heard of such a
home.
thing.
It's our home. It's in
no,
our
it's
name.
not your home. That's what you don't seem to understand. It's not your home until June 16th, 2001. Then it becomes your home again.
It also states in the lease that if he violated anything that we agreed to in writing, that lease would become null
You
and void.
breached the lease the moment you stayed 1 hour beyond June 30th. You breached the lease. I never heard of such a thing. I mean, I've lived in lots of apartments. Leased apartments, right? Have you leased a lot of apartments?
A lot of apartments.
A lot of apartments? Did you ever move into an apartment with the previous tenant?
No.
It's not an apartment, it's a house, but he
It doesn't make
broke
any
it, too.
difference whether it's an apartment, a house, a co-op, a condominium. You own it,
Yes.
but you have given up, pursuant to this lease, your right to occupy it for 1 year.
But, Your Honor, the house is not paid for, and the house is also in pre-foreclosure because they have not paid. So
They're not
They're gonna
supposed to
take
pay
the
rent.
house.
You pay rent.
he's
No,
not.
no,
keeping
listen to
his
me.
rent.
You pay the rent.
And we have.
Good. Then why should your house be in foreclosure?
Because he wasn't paying on the schedule that we agreed to. He didn't pay because he moved into our home without a job. When he moved into our home, he
That's
didn't even
not
have
correct.
a job.
That is not
yes,
correct.
it is. I
Hey,
talked
Miss
to his
Bent.
boss.
No, it is
Miss
not.
Bent,
Yes, Your Honor.
let's get it together. You breached the lease because of circumstances perhaps beyond your control,
Yes,
because
it
you
was.
lost your house. But you can't expect him to pay rent on an entire house, which is what you're looking for when he doesn't have the use of an entire house.
But, Your Honor, he does have use of the entire house. The thing is,
No,
him and
I
his
don't.
wife, look, yes, you do. Him and his wife and his baby, we've inconvenienced ourselves. We took our children and put them all in one room, him and his wife, and he told us
That's
they didn't
his
have
room.
anything.
No,
Right,
that's
yes,
his
and that's
room.
what I'm saying. It is his room, but he also has use of the whole house. He can cook and clean and do whatever, but, excuse me, he doesn't clean, so I take that back. He cooks, he has
Okay.
use of everything else. They haven't, and it also states in there that he's supposed to mow the lawn and all of that. My husband does that once a week. He doesn't do any
You
of that.
live there.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
Oh,
That's
you're not, listen to me. You're not getting it. You're not supposed to be there. You have to move out if that's what they want. He paid rent, full rent, according to you, for the entire month of July. He also gave you $750 for security deposit.
which is non-refundable, and he signed that. It does state.
Oh,
that on
he's
the
gonna
first
get it
page.
back.
It states that on the
Oh,
first
no,
page.
he's going to get it back.
Well, what about the damage that he's done? The
I'm
house
not
cannot-
interested.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The cat was urinating on things, tearing up the furniture, tore up the wall, tore up the door. Yes, he did.
And later today,
Well, I paid half of it.
Why should she be responsible for $1?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Janine and Anthony Bent are suing Janine's brother, Gerard Richardson, and his wife, Maria, for not paying rent.
I believe that this cat baloney is just a lot of baloney.
No, ma'am, it's not. We have pictures of the house that has been done, and they knew this. We asked them when they first moved in, the lease clearly states no pets. They said, we have a cat. We said, you can bring the cat if you're going to clean up after the cat. They never did. We had got into it because the cat litter hadn't been changed. The cat was urinating on things, tearing up the furniture, tore up the wall, tore up the door. Yes, he did. I have pictures of that. He tore that up.
Show me.
I sure will.
Show me. I just want to see the cat tearing up the door and tearing up the walls. And then we'll proceed from there. I don't see any walls here. I see scratches on the door. Is that what you're showing me?
Yes, and it was not like that before.
Baloney.
And this
Next.
too, which
And he
can't
broke
be
a picture.
replaced.
What else?
Also, he called the police on me and tried to have me arrested
Because
for assault. I didn't do anything. What happened was I talked to him. I told him, I said, you know, the cat has destroyed this. This belonged to Grandma. You know, she's gone now. We can't replace this.
So what?
It means something to me. And his wife was like, well, if it was important to you, you should have put it up. No, your
Miss
cat
Bent,
destroyed
your lawsuit
it.
is dismissed for the following reason. You signed a lease. You became a landlord. You cannot live in property that you signed your rights away to for 1 year because you have a problem. You could have done several things. You could have taken your family and moved to another apartment. You could have said to your brother, I'm sorry it didn't work out. I will buy you out of your lease. You can say to him, I'll give you your moving expenses. You did none of those things. You just decided that you were all going to live together.
No, ma'am. We wanted to leave. We wanted to leave.
Could. And you should have left.
We could not. We tried to purchase another home. We just didn't have the money at that point.
She ain't getting it. She ain't getting it. Your lawsuit is dismissed. Now let's get to your counterclaim. You have a counterclaim. You want your security deposit back. Done. $750. You want your rent back, right?
Yes.
Done. Now the reason I'm giving you this money on your counterclaim is she ain't moving. You understand that?
I understand.
So you should have a little bit of money, which is what she should have done at the beginning, because she's not moving. She doesn't get it. And I can explain to her 4 times. She still doesn't get it. She said, but it's my house. And I want to move, but I can't move. Lease means you move. You paid $750 deposit. You paid $550 in July?
Yes. And then it was $200 for the first half of August that I paid her.
Fine. So, on your claim for past rent, that claim is dismissed. On your counterclaim, I'm awarding you $1,500 for the breach of the lease. That's all.
All right, are excused. You may step out.
He's destroyed my home. He's put my whole house in chaos, and he gets awarded a judgment. His stuff is going out. When we get back, it's out.
She's got to be out of her mind to think that I'm going to pay for her family to live in a house that she was supposed to sell to me.
And now the next case.
All parties on Dennis versus Franklin. Step forward, please.
52-year-old company owner Tanya Dennis is suing her son's friend, 24-year-old salesman Michael Franklin, for expenses involving a botched car lease.
Miss Dennis.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant, according to you, was a friend of your son's, who, even at one point, you were allowed to live in your home. Is that right?
That's correct. He still lives there, Your Honor.
Still lives there?
Yes, he does.
We'll get to why in a minute. According to your complaint, there came a time when he wanted to buy a car. He asked you to co-sign. You must not have taken your smart pills that day. You agreed. Through some fluke in the paperwork, the car dealership did some sort of a bait and switch with the car papers. You turned out to be the primary.
That's correct.
On this car. The car was in your name.
That's correct.
But he drove the car.
That's correct.
There was some lawsuit involving this bait and switch with the paperwork. You won that lawsuit, and the car was eventually taken out of your name. But before the car was taken out of your name, the defendant racked up a whole bunch of parking tickets, let the insurance lapse on the car which you paid for, had an accident with the car, and also you were notified that they were going to repossess the car that was in your name, so you made up the car payments so that they wouldn't repossess the car. So far correct?
So far correct, Your Honor.
Best as I can put together, the defense to this case is, he says you were both losers.
Definitely. Basically, she went to court because of their mishaps and their bad contracts. It set us far behind on payments, as well as...
So set who far behind?
Me and Melissa originally
Who's
were
Melissa?
my ex-girlfriend, who's no longer in my life.
Who has the car?
I won the case and had them take the car back because I charged them with fraud. They did take the car back, so That's gone.
Oh, so the car is gone.
Yes.
Why is he still living in your house?
Because he lost his job. That's how he got behind in his car payments. And I figured that when he got a job, if he didn't have to pay rent, he could pay me back the debt.
Right, but then I got put out before I can even settle into my job.
Put out where?
I was living there, and while I was busy working on a project, I was told that I needed to come and pick up my stuff because I hadn't been home in maybe a week and a half. When I went to go and pick up my mail actually was a suit paper.
That she filed?
Right.
When
and
was
she
that?
told me that she was just
And when
doing
was
this
that?
to protect herself. This was a matter of 3 months ago.
So when did you move back into the house?
Maybe like 4 days after I went to her, and I told her, I said that I always try to assume responsibility. Before I took care of some tickets, I gave her money. She went and paid some of those tickets as well.
But you got a lot more tickets.
Yeah, there was a lot of tickets.
Well, why'd you get so many tickets, Mr. Franklin?
San Francisco gives a high rate of tickets, and I had tickets that I didn't even know about accumulating and piling up.
What do you mean you didn't know about them?
Well, sometimes you get tickets, and when you get there, they're not on your car.
Yeah, everybody tells me that, but not all those tickets, Mr. Franklin. Not $1,500 worth of tickets. They didn't all get lost.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I'm absolutely dying of curiosity. Why is he living in your house again?
That's a good question.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tanya Dennis says her son's friend, Michael Franklin, owes her for a botched car lease.
Who's supposed to pay that?
I was.
But you didn't.
Well, I paid half of it.
Why should she be responsible for $1?
Well, she wasn't supposed to be responsible.
But she has to be. Her name is on the car.
Yeah, but she wasn't supposed to be primary. She was supposed to be co-signer, which meant that we were supposed to receive everything.
Okay, so you're both losers because it's all the car dealership's fault. All right, now let's get to the insurance. You let your insurance lapse. Why?
It fell behind a month because I lost my job.
So you were driving the car without insurance, knowing that she was the primary.
What it was is Miss Melissa, right? She was the original person, and it was Melissa.
Just a second. She wasn't the friend of Melissa. She was your friend.
Right.
If Melissa came to her and said to her, would you co-sign a loan for me, do you think she would have done it?
No.
She came and co-signed the loan because of you.
Right.
Yeah. Now tell me about the accident.
Well, technically it wasn't my fault, but it ended up...
let's start out with the not technically, sir. Was Melissa driving the car at the time of the accident?
No, she wasn't. We were no
Were
longer
you
together.
driving the car at
Yes,
the time
I
of the
was.
accident? And who paid to have the car fixed?
Miss Dennis.
Why do you think she should do that?
She did that because she was in the primary position in all levels, and she had to protect her butt. But I was in a position where I was going to be able to pay it, but I got kicked out. And because I got kicked out, I had to fend for myself. I have a little girl that just was born, and I had to survive. I couldn't be just sleeping on the street.
So why didn't you put the car in a garage? Or you could have sold the car.
I needed a job, and in order to work, I needed transportation.
Why is that her problem?
It's not her problem.
But you made it her problem.
But it wasn't on purpose.
Oy. All right. I'm going to take care of this case, but I'm absolutely dying of curiosity. Why is he living in your house again?
That's a good question. I gave him 30 days notice, which is 2 days from now, and I know he still doesn't have any money. And I'm a Christian. I just can't do it.
Where's your son?
My son is at home also. They stay in my back rec room.
What does your son do for a living?
He goes to college, and he's a music engineer.
What kind of work does the defendant do?
He right now is signing up people for long distance, and he's a rap star, a rap artist.
Does he work with your son?
Yes, he does.
Oh, that's what I thought.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What prompted you to file the small claims suit when you filed it? How long ago was that?
I filed it, I believe, about 3 months ago, and I went to court, and as the judge tallied up everything, the tickets kept coming in. At first, I sued for $3,500, and he said, I can give you the $3,500, or I can set it aside without prejudice, and you can come back, because by that time it was up to $4,500. I refiled with the increased amount.
When did you refile?
I refiled, I guess, about 2-3 weeks ago.
Let me see the date of your filing.
I didn't bring the papers from that court. The only papers I have, court-wise, is my litigation.
Let me see it.
I charged them with fraud and breach of contract.
How much did you collect?
I settled out of court. They took the car back, and I had to make the car payment for that month.
But no other damages?
No, none.
Judge Judy,
Yes.
I really don't feel that I should owe her this money because she picked it up.
No, I don't think you should owe her this money either. I don't think you owe her any money. I think that you sued the wrong defendant, madam. I don't see his name on the papers. I see Melissa's, Miss Dennis. The reason you're suing him is because he's in closer proximity to you?
That's not true.
I don't see his name anywhere here.
They wouldn't put him on the contract because his credit was so bad. So Melissa was supposed to buy the car for him, and they were going to make me the co-signer.
That's what you understood?
Right.
Even when you were there?
Right. No, well, no.
No, even when you were there?
They made when I went there, I thought that Michael was going to be
Get out
the
of
primary.
here, Miss Dennis. You're trying to pull the wool over
No,
my
I'm not.
eyes, madam. And I guarantee you, you're not going to do it. Your case
Judge
against
Judy,
this
may I
defendant
say-
is dismissed. You want to file against Melissa? You go and do it. That's all.
Versus Phil's. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Jones, according to your complaint, you and the defendant, who were friends, got into an altercation in his car. You had called him to take you to some sort of party to see if there was anything going on that evening. He was nice enough. He came over and picked you up at your house, correct?
Yes.
What time was this?
It was about 12, maybe.
At night?
12:30, yes.
Had you been drinking that night?
Yes, I had, before I left my house, before he picked me up, I had two 16 ounces of beer.
And so he picked you up, and what happened when you got into the car?
Well, when I got into the car, we were laughing, talking, you know, having a good time, driving. When we got into Dorchester, I said, so, where are we going? He was like, we're going to my house. And I'm like, why are we going to your house? I want to go out. You know, are you having a party at your house? He's like, we're going to my house. I want to have some sex with you. He calls me shoo-shoo. And I was like, I don't think so. You know better than that. I was like, look, just take me home. He got really upset, started like screaming, you always give me a problem, and you people this, you people that. Then he gets out of his car. He takes his keys and his cell phone, gets out of his car, goes across the street, and urinates. Then a yellow cab drives by, and he jumps into the yellow cab and takes off in the cab. So I'm like, oh my God, where is he going? He's gone in this cab. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in this car, you know, in the middle of nowhere. Because the argument went on for hours, Miss Judy, for a long time. It did, over this. He was refusing.
For hours?
Well, for at least like a couple of hours, because he was refusing to bring me home.
What were you doing, just driving around for hours?
Well, we were parked, yes, we were parked, okay.
And arguing?
Right.
Okay.
Arguing big time. So anyway, he leaves me sitting in his car, no keys, you know, nothing, in the middle of nowhere, in Dorchester on Bowden Street, which is a very high crime area, very dangerous area. So I'm just sitting there and wondering where he is. So finally I get out the car, I go around to the driver's side, and I'm looking like up the street to see, can I see a payphone, or looking down that way to see, could I see him? He comes back in the cab, and he gets out the cab. I said, Danny, look, this is ridiculous, just take me home. This is just absolutely ridiculous. Please just take me home. He comes charging across the street, okay, pushing and shoving me all up against the car. He bit me in my wrist, jumped in his car. Meanwhile, I'm trying to reach in the car on the driver's side, get my pocketbook, and, you know, like, and trying to, you know, just struggling to trying to get in the car, because I'm like, oh God, he is not going to leave me out here by myself this time of night. Meanwhile, he gets in the car somehow.
You were outside of the car?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And my coat, my pocketbook, everything was shut into the car, and this man dragged me at least about 30 feet.
And then what happened?
I'm screaming, Danny, please, please stop, Danny. He heard me screaming. I can look at the thing and see that he was going like 30, 35 miles per hour. And I'm screaming, Danny, 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 please stop, please stop, please stop. He would not stop. Then finally he stopped short, okay, and just drops me. Just drops me. Opens the door and just drops me.
So?
So I get up all, you know, crazy, you know, like I was just like in shock. and I went to a payphone. I dialed 911. I called my husband. My husband and the police and the ambulance, all three showed up at the same time. I refused the ambulance out there because I wanted to go to the hospital. I was just so upset I just wanted to go home. I just wanted to go home.
So you refused medical treatment?
At that time.
So what are you suing him for?
I'm suing him for the injuries that I sustained.
Well, let me see the injuries. Where was your husband when you were going out partying?
My husband was at home. He knew that we was going out. He said that because I hadn't been out in a minute. I hadn't been out in a long time, so. And he said, go on out. And he knows that Danny and I are good friends. Here's my medical records and the instructions that I got from my doctor. Here's the sandal where I was bracing myself. He could have killed me.
Okay, sir, why don't you tell me your version of the events of that evening in July?
Sharon Jones called me, and she said that, Denny, I'm under stress. I've been drinking all day. And I said, well, I think you have to stop drinking, you know. Every time you call me, there's always a problem with you. I said, well, I don't think I'm going out tonight because I've been working so hard today. I think I'm going to stay home. She don't always call me to go out with her.
Okay, but you did go and pick her up.
Yeah, I went there.
What'd you go pick her up for if you didn't want to go out?
No, she called. I said, okay. I went there. She came out with big glasses of beer. I said, you're not going to drink in my car. It's not the first time I told you that. Leave your drink away from my car. And she said, okay. She finished it once. We went over my house together. We sat there for at least 15, 20 minutes.
Did you go inside of your house, sir?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And she said, we have to go to a party tonight. I said, well, I'm not going nowhere. If you want to go home, I can drive you back home. And she said, well, drive me over my sister's house. Okay? I said, well, no problem. And my way over her sister, she said, I'm not going over my sister's house now. I'm going over my house. I said, I'm not going to drive you all the way to her house because your sister don't live too far from here. Only 10, 15 minutes.
How long did it take you to get to your house?
30 minutes from my house.
Okay, so you wanted to take her to her sister's house?
Yeah, because her sister lives in Dorchester.
Okay.
Not too far where I parked the car. She started hit my radio. I'm driving. She tried to. I said, well, I have to stop. I said, what you want to do?
Come on, sir. What happened? You got out of the car at some point, and you got into a cab.
Okay, the reason why I got out of the car, she hit me in my rear nose, my ear. I mean, I've been bleeding. I said, well, I think I have to leave you. You're intoxicated. You're not going to be able to understand me.
Why didn't you put her in the cab?
She don't want to.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You had a lot to drink.
I did not have a lot to drink.
Oh, yes, you did. If you admit to 2 16-ounce bottles of beer, it was probably a lot more.
That was before I left my house.
Absolutely. I said you went out, you had a lot to drink
night.
that night. Pay attention, Miss Jones.
And later today,
all the bridesmaids and I got together and went bridesmaids dress shopping.
I told her, well, I don't have the money.
I had 3 groomsmen and only 2 bridesmaids.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sharon Jones says former friend Daniel Fills assaulted her by dragging her 30 feet with his car. Daniel says Sharon started the fight because he refused to give her money for drugs.
All right. You got into a cab. Where did you go when you got into the cab, sir?
I went back home.
Did you call another cab, or did you have the same cab wait for you?
I told him to wait for me.
Just a second.
I have to travel. I mean, that was on Saturday.
You took the cab home, and it was about 30 minutes to get home?
From my house, no.
From where the car was?
Well, that's probably 20, 25 minutes.
I'm getting a headache. You took the cab home.
Yes.
Then you told the cab to wait. What did you tell the cab to wait for?
Just to take my stuff. I mean, my bag, because I have to travel the next day to Montreal, because all my stuff was there at my house.
So you went and picked up your bag?
Yes, because I have to travel to Montreal. I have to drive back to Montreal. I have to drive to Montreal that day.
You had to drive to Montreal?
Yes.
Oh, you were driving to Montreal?
Yes.
Okay. When you came back in the cab, did you have your suitcase with you?
Yeah, I came back with my suitcase.
Oh, for crying out loud.
According to your answer, you tried to pull her out of the car by her legs, right?
No.
Listen to me, sir. Let me read your answer. You
Yeah.
say, when I returned to my car, Sharon was still sitting in it. I told her to get out because I didn't want anything else to do with her. She got mad and started punching my radio, which
Yes.
cost me $400 to fix. That's when I went around to the passenger side and started pulling her out by her legs.
She started punching in the window. She said, stop. This is my car. I can't afford another one. She said, I don't care. I said, the reason why you don't care because you don't work. You don't work. I mean,
You're having this nice, quiet conversation with her. The reason you don't care is because you don't work. It's in the middle of the night. By this time, it must be, what, 3 o'clock in the morning. You got 3 kids, right? And a husband who's home and has no problem with you going out to parties Friday night. He babysits for the 3 kids.
I don't go out all the time. It was just that night. I hadn't been out in a few months.
Oh. You remember hitting him?
I did not hit him, Your Honor. Honest
I
to
don't think
God.
you remember anything that went on that evening, quite frankly.
Oh, yes, I do remember.
No.
Exactly.
No.
Everything.
Miss Jones, he had a scraped knee. That's what I see here. A very terrible scraped knee. You were out that night. You had a lot to drink. You got into an argument with him.
I did not have a lot to drink.
Oh, yes, you did. According to you, you had 2 16-ounce bottles of beer. If you admit to 2 16-ounce bottles of beer, it was probably a lot more.
That was before I left my house.
Absolutely.
That
I
was
said
like
you went out
earlier
without a
in
lot
the
to drink
night.
that night. Pay attention, Miss Jones. I believe that you hit him. What reason do you think he would have to leave you in his car? What kind of car do you have?
BMW,
What year?
94.
Nice car. What reason do you think he would have to leave you in an area that you say is not a good area, in his car that I'm sure he's very fond of, unless there was a problem?
The problem was that he wanted to, he was not taking, he didn't want to take me home because he wanted to take me to his house to have sex.
So get out of the car. What are you sitting there waiting for him to come back for?
I did get out of the car.
You were waiting for him to come back. That's what you said. You
Yeah,
said you
I
got out of the
was.
car, you were looking one way, you were looking the other way. You were waiting for him to come back.
That's right.
Why didn't you try to get a cab and go to your sister's house? She
I
was
was
15
standing
minutes
out
away.
there, Miss Judy, looking, well, whatever.
Something doesn't smell right, something doesn't feel right with this case. In any event, I don't find that you were dragged 30 feet. If somebody's dragged 30 feet in the car, they have more than a scraped knee. You did not want to go to a hospital, and when you went to the doctor days later, all you had was a scrape on your knee. You get more than a scrape on your knee when a car drags you 30 feet. Wouldn't you say so?
I had a cervical
Drags you?
strain, a low back strain, and a neck strain. I was
No,
in
no,
a
no, no,
lot
no.
of pain.
That's what you said. That's what you told the doctor. You reported to the doctor that you had all these injuries, back and neck, but they took all kinds of other tests and they found nothing wrong with you except by your own reporting. You said this hurts and this hurts and this hurts. The doctor wrote down that was the diagnosis. Take aspirins. That's what I'm telling you. Take an aspirin. Your case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She tried to get some money out of me, but she didn't get it.
I should have just stayed at home and instead of coming on national TV making a fool out of myself.
And now the next case.
All parties on George versus Prescott. Step forward, please.
23-year-old cashier Linda Cross George is suing her former friend, 23-year-old teacher Rhonda Prescott, for a deposit on a bridesmaid's dress. Rhonda says she didn't have the money and didn't attend the wedding.
Miss George, according to your complaint, you and the defendant were friends.
Yes, we were.
And you became engaged.
I did.
You asked the defendant to be in your wedding party to be a bridesmaid.
Yes.
She ended up not being in the wedding party, and it's your claim that she owes you for her bridesmaid's dress.
Yes, Your Honor.
When were you supposed to be married?
We got married September 23rd this year.
And when had you asked her to be part of your wedding party?
Somewhere around January. The 29th, all the bridesmaids and I got together and went bridesmaid dress shopping.
Including the defendant?
Including her, yes.
And what happened when you went shopping?
They picked out the dress, which is right here. Everyone agreed.
Nice dress.
Thank you. The dress was for a total of $196. And everyone agreed that within a few weeks that they would put the required 50% deposit down on the dress so that the dress order could go out, and we'd receive them in a few months.
And?
And as of March 4th, when I went to put the deposit, to send out the dress order, Rhonda had yet to put the deposit on it.
Well, was she supposed to do that to you or to the dress shop?
To the dress shop. She and I had talked previously, and she said that she was having car trouble, but that she would make it up there. She had the money. It was just a matter of getting up there.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You knew she was not going to be in the wedding
Pretty
party.
much, yes.
March, April, May, June. You haven't spoken to her. She won't return your phone calls. You don't even want her in your wedding party anymore, right?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Linda Cross George says former friend Rhonda Prescott owes her for the deposit on a bridesmaid's dress.
Did she ask you to go and put the money down for her?
No, she never did. She said that she would make it up there.
So she never asked you to put the down
No.
payment down? So that was sometime in March?
On March 4th.
Okay, so you put it down on March 4th. And what did you do after you put down her deposit?
I sent out the dress order, and I continued to try to get in touch with Rhonda to see what the problem was, if she didn't have the money or what was going on. I contacted her. She said that she didn't have the money right then. We made arrangements for her to give me even $10 a week to start covering the cost. And I visited her home, and all I got was excuses as to why she didn't have the money. So when the dresses came in, I felt obligated to buy it because I couldn't get the deposit back anyways.
So you bought it?
I did.
Did somebody else wear it to the wedding?
I had to eventually ask my cousin to be in the wedding because I had 3 groomsmen and only 2 bridesmaids.
When did either you notify the defendant or she notify you that she wasn't going to be in the wedding party?
She never actually said she wasn't going to be. She just stopped returning my phone calls.
When did you ask someone else to be part of the bridal party?
I believe it was about in August. It was about a month before the wedding.
And when had you finished paying off her dress?
I picked up the dress on June 30th.
And when was the last time you spoke to her?
Sometime in March.
So by June 30th, when you picked up the dresses, you knew she was not going to be in the wedding party?
I had a good idea.
You knew she was not going to be in the wedding
Pretty
party?
much, yes.
March, April, May, June, you haven't spoken to her, she won't return your phone calls, you don't even want her in your wedding party anymore, right?
I did, actually.
Can I see the receipt, please?
Sure.
Did you initially tell her that you were going to be in the bridal party?
Yes, I did.
And did you originally tell her that you were going to pay for the bridal dress?
Yes, I said I'd put the deposit down on it.
You did say that?
Yes.
Okay.
What I understood was if I didn't have the deposit down in time, that she would just forfeit my dress from the wedding party and I wouldn't be in the wedding. I even left a message on her answering machine saying that the night before.
Night before what?
That we were supposed to go back to that she called me up one night and she said that you never went and put your deposit down and want to know what's going on. I called back and left a message saying, well, I told her everything that had happened, the car breaking down, and I said, well, if you don't want me in your wedding, I understand, and that's what I said.
I never got that message.
When she called you initially and told you that she had put the deposit down on the dress, what did you say to her?
I told her, well, I don't have the money.
Did you tell her that you would try to make payments on the deposit that she put down? You didn't?
No. I told her I didn't want to be in the wedding after she had charged it.
How much after?
If I remember correctly, it would have been 2 to 3 days after. I can't remember exact dates.
She never said to me that she didn't want to be in the wedding party because I would not have waited until August to try to find another bridesmaid.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So this is the way I see it. I believe that there was an understanding at the time that you put down the deposit on this dress that she was going to be in the bridal party.
Yes.
But it was clear to you at the time that you picked up the dresses that she was not going to be in the bridal party. And if she was not going to be in the bridal party, she should not be responsible for the other half that you spent.
Okay.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $98. Thank you.
In the matter of Blaylock versus Jackson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Blaylock, according to your complaint, you were driving your car. The defendant was a pedestrian. Did you know him from before this incident?
No, I didn't.
Had you ever seen him before?
No, I didn't.
You were driving your car. According to you, the defendant came up to your car, broke your car window, causing glass to go in your face. You want him to pay for the car window as well as for a rental car that you had to rent while your car was being fixed.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and where did this happen?
On the north side of town in Jacksonville, Florida.
Tell me what kind of roadway that is. Is it a 2-lane roadway? Is it 4 lanes?
It's a 2-lane road. in a residential area.
One lane in each direction.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Okay, basically I was going down the road, and it's like a 30-mile-per-hour road. So I was driving, and I saw him approaching, coming across the street, and he really wasn't paying attention, so I kind of slowed down. I tooted my horn, and I pointed, you know, to the direction of the sidewalk, like requesting him to go to the sidewalk. So he said something, but I really couldn't hear him because my windows was up. So he kept walking or whatever in front of my car.
What do you mean he kept walking in front of your car? Was he going from one side of the street to the other?
He was steadily walking ahead. He began to walk ahead.
You mean in the street where the cars go?
Yes.
So was he walking in the same direction you were?
Yes.
So he's walking in the same direction you were, but he's walking in the street where the single lane of cars going in one direction had to go, and he was walking. Okay. How much in the street was he?
I guess 3 to 4 feet in the street.
Okay. And he was walking in the same direction as your car?
Yes.
You tooted the horn. Did he turn around when you tooted the horn?
Yes, he did. So I rolled my window down, and I was like, could you get out of the street? So he began to curse, and I'm a pedestrian, I don't have to move, or whatever other words he was saying. But I was saying, well, you still need to get out of the street. So it was a verbal, you know, confrontation. So then a school bus came. So the school bus, because I was gonna go around him instead of driving my car on the side, you know, on the sidewalk and the grass, the school bus came. So the school bus stopped. The kids got off of the bus, so that he was still in the middle of the street doing this process. So then kids began to walk through. He was still acting irate and cursing. So then that made where I couldn't even go around because the kids had came to a complete stop watching him. So I was, after the kids that were walking, you know, towards the apartment complex, after that area was clear, I was going to go in the grass and go around him. So I rolled my window back up. I rolled to the side. He began to approach my car. So I couldn't just speed, you know, in that area because of the kids that were walking, and he was up to my car cursing. But as he is cursing, I'm not even really looking at him. I'm trying to hurry up and get away from him, but I didn't want to hit a child. All of a sudden, he bust my window with his hand.
Which window did he bust?
He bust my driver's side window. So I grabbed my cellular phone. I said, now I'm calling the police. So he was cursing. So after, you know, everything was clear, I just went ahead and went, you know, blowed my horn, move, and I went because I didn't want him to further put his hands on me. As I turned the corner, I was calling the police, but the police was already coming. I flagged him down and told him that a person I didn't know had just struck my window, broke it, and struck me. When the police followed me back to the complex, Mr. Jackson was nowhere in sight. We found Mr. Jackson in the back of the apartment complex around other people, and he was just stating that I ran over his feet, his arm was bleeding. He said I ran over his arm, so the officer was ready to take me to jail. It was my word against his. The rescue came, and the rescue began to pick glass out of his arm. So then the officer was like, well, how did, you know, she run over your feet? I see no tire marks. How did she run over your arm? I see no, you know, where's the glass coming from? So he just went on, and the officer told me to be quiet and had me step to the side. So I really couldn't say whatever else he was saying.
Let me see the police report. You were not cited, Miss Baylock, is that right?
Both of us were giving, in my city, we get yellow cards to go downtown to the state attorney's office. At the beginning, I was given the card because I was the suspect, but after the rescue came and was picking glass out of his arm, he became a suspect also.
But nothing happened with either one of those cards?
Yes.
What happened with it?
Okay. I went to the state attorney's office to file my complaint because I didn't know him. And, you know, I just wanted to feel safe. I didn't know this man. I don't know, you know, what type of person he was. Okay, we had mediation. He made threats during the mediation, stated to me that he was going to sue me, made other threats stating that when he got through with me, I would be nobody, I would be nothing.
So what happened with that mediation?
Okay, they closed the mediation because he was very irate, and the person that was doing the mediation was like an older type senior citizen type person, and he was hollering too much, and the man couldn't speak over him, so we were supposed to be back down there. I received letters in the mail that he was suing me from my insurance company, and then I had several...
Do you have a lawsuit pending against her?
I have the paperwork
Just
right
a second.
here.
I'd like to see that too. So you don't have a lawsuit pending against her?
No, ma'am.
Did you file a claim with her insurance?
I had not filed a formal claim with her insurance company. What I had done was I had consulted a lawyer who put in a request to her insurance company about this situation at hand. And that's as far as it went.
Okay, so your lawyer sent a letter and the insurance company sent a letter that they were not accepting your claim because they say based on information that they have that you intentionally put your arm through a window. Now I'm going to look through the police report. Okay. Let me hear your version of these events, Mr. Jackson.
Yes, ma'am. On the morning, well, on the day that this thing occurred, I was crossing the street. I just stopped some kids from fighting. This was a school zone, total school zone. There's a big school there. I crossed the street. I'm on the sidewalk walking down the street. I'm going to visit my son at his mom's house. All of a sudden, she pulls up on the side of me, blowing her horn erratically and waving her hands. Then she rolls her window down and begins yelling and screaming and cursing at me. I asked her one time, I said, "Who are you and what do you want?"
She's in her car on the street.
"Yes, ma'am." And I tell her, I said, "What is it that you want from me? I don't even know you." At that time, she says, "Don't worry about it." And she speeds off. I kept walking down towards the entrance to these apartments. I didn't think anything else about her at this moment. I'm walking with a bunch of kids around me. Like I say, it's in the school zone, and the kids are just out of school. Right at the moment when I go inside of the gate of these apartments, all of a sudden I hear a car pull up behind me, and the tires are like dragging. At that time, she rolls her window down and yells at me, "Was there something that you want to say to me? So-and-so and so-and-so," just cursing me all out. I looked at her again, and I go, "I can't believe that you came back. What is it that you want? Who are you? I don't even know you." She said, "I should have ran you over before, and I will run you over now." So she backs her car up a little bit, cuts the wheels, and runs over me. At that time, when she hit me, the side of her car spent me around, and my arm went through her window, causing the window to break. I left there and went running through the apartments to go and try to get some help.
So according to your statement, Mr. Jackson, this person that you didn't know at all
Yes, ma'am.
was driving down the street
Yes, ma'am, pretty much.
and for no earthly reason whatsoever stopped her car at some
Yes,
point
ma'am.
to verbally berate you and then assault you. That's what you're telling me.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Jackson, she doesn't appear to me to be psychotic. She was coming from work, which I assume means that she wasn't drunk. Now, I want you to hold out your arm, sir, and show me where the glass was on your arm.
Where the glass was?
Yes.
It was around my
Elbow.
right.
Okay. And so you're telling me that she ran over your feet,
She ran over my feet. Yes, ma'am.
which the police say they saw no indication of tire marks or anything else on your shoes. I just don't understand how, if she ran over your feet, your elbow was injured.
It wasn't like that at all, Your Honor.
How was it, Mr. Jackson?
She pulled up behind me in the driveway of this apartment.
Yes.
She backed up, and when she ran over me, the side of her car mirror hit me and spent me around. Then she backed up across the street and tried to run over me again.
It's getting better. Do you have a hospital report, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
I've also had pictures.
Hmm? I'm looking through these papers because you say that you were hit on the side by her mirror. There is no indication in the hospital chart of any bruise on your side, sir.
They didn't have any bruises on my feet either, Your Honor.
That's right,
But
they
I
didn't.
still got ran over by them.
I'm telling you, they have absolutely no bruises on your feet, none whatsoever.
They gave me x-rays at the hospital
Mhm.
stating that none of my bones were broken, but my feet were swollen.
Oh, let's see if they say that. Did they say that anywhere in the hospital records?
They got it documented
Let's
on
see. The laceration was in your elbow.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't see anything about swollen feet. Didn't say you could.
It should be in there.
Well, I don't see it, sir. Now, the only other thing I have to ask you, Miss Baylock, is, am I correct that at one point you actually drove your car up on the sidewalk?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you do that?
Because I was scared. of him.
It's dangerous, Miss Baylock, to go
it was
up
dangerous for me to be, you know, in that situation with him.
I understand that. You shouldn't have gone up on the
I
grass.
feel as though I was wrong, but I had no choice.
You
After
may-
he struck me once, I felt as though he was going to yank me out of the car or something. He was very
No.
irate.
He hadn't struck you yet when you went up on the grass. Hadn't struck you yet, according to you. You went up on the grass, and then he approached your car.
But,
in
Your
the
Honor,
window.
the reason why I tried to proceed to get away from him is because he was cursing and approaching my car.
Right.
I
Honey,
tried to get
she's
away
not
from him
telling
before
you.
he approached my car.
She's not telling you what happened.
Cost of replacing your window is $179.75. Is that right?
Yes.
Your Honor,
Mr.
she
Jackson,
left the scene.
Mr. Jackson, she did not leave the scene. She came
left
back.
the scene.
Shh. She flagged down the police and brought them back. If somebody just runs over somebody's legs, they don't do that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount
Your
of
Honor, I'm also
$179.
for my rental car.
And I'm denying that, madam. $179.75. You can replace a window in a half a day. You shouldn't have been up on the sidewalk. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My arm, I got 36 stitches, I got 10 puncture wounds, and I'm paralyzed from my wrist down to my elbow.
He tried to sue me for over $10,000. Basically, I don't have any money for him, but he caused those injuries on his own, and that's good for him.
I want to see my medical bills paid, and I don't want to see her no more.
And now the next case.
All parties on Leyva versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
28-year-old bank teller supervisor Cheyenne Leyva is suing 18-year-old Gabriel Rodriguez for damage to her car caused by a water balloon.
So you're driving around in your brand new van.
Right.
How many days old is your van?
It's about a day and a half old. I got it on Thursday night, and this happened Saturday afternoon.
Brand new?
Right.
And there are a bunch of idiot teenagers that, for sport, are throwing things at cars.
Right. We were driving down the road, and we heard two loud dents, and so I stopped the car and got out of the van to see what happened. My little sister said they ran this way. They were on, there was like a low block wall and an office complex. They started running into the office complex.
How many of them?
3.
And they were apprehended.
Right. We chased them. They ran into their house. I was on the phone with the police the whole time. We waited, and the police got there. They knocked on the door. Gabe had tried to, he jumped the back fence and started to walk off, but the police went and got him.
Now, you had damage to this brand new van.
Right. There was 2 dents in the side door.
And how much was the damage?
It was about $540.
Now, 2 of the young men, one paid their third in full.
Right. And the other one paid half.
And is paying slowly.
Right.
But Mr. Rodriguez over here says, I'm not paying.
Right. Well, he said he would at first, but now all of a sudden he says he's not responsible.
He says he's not paying because his balloon missed.
That's right.
And there were only 2 dents in the car.
Right.
Right? Now, what prompted you and your idiot friends to engage in this kind of conduct?
We had nothing else better to do.
Was that during the week?
It was on Saturday.
You had nothing to do on Saturday?
No, man.
Why'd you get a job?
Should do that.
What were you throwing?
We were throwing water balloons at each other for the day. And then we got tired of throwing them, so then we just lost them over the wall when we saw the car, and we hit the car.
Did you say we hit the car?
Well, there was 4 of us.
Yes.
And then when we threw it, I watched my water balloon, and mine went right over the top. And my 2 friends, there was 4 of us, and we threw 4 water balloons, and 2 out of 4 hit the car.
Okay. And you watched yours very carefully, and yours missed.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you're not responsible for the damage.
Yes.
Wrong! Let me see the estimate for the damage. You fool. An idiot. Maybe you can't find the job. $531. Make it $532, this change. Divided by 3.
$177.33.
Co-conspirators to commit the act of vandalism. That's what you were. Co-conspirators. right?
Right.
You mean because of the Earth's spin and gravity and luck, maybe your balloon didn't hit? You're not responsible?
I feel I'm not.
You still feel as if you're not?
Yeah.
Were you alone?
No, I had my little sister with me who's 13, my husband, and my baby, my 8-month-old baby, and my 4-year-old daughter.
So let's say, Mr. Rodriguez, that all you idiots threw your balloons over, a couple of them hit. The plaintiff swerves. It's a wall, and her baby is severely injured. Would you be responsible?
Yes.
Why do you think you'd be responsible if your balloon didn't hit?
Because I helped doing it.
Right. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $177.33. I just wanted him to see.
Right. That's why I was so mad.
Right. He may still not see,
Probably
but maybe
not.
he does. Fool.
Yeah, definitely.
18-year-old fool, not 6 years old.
Right.
Throwing water balloons. 18 years old.
Please.
Miss Garnett, how long has it been since you've seen your daughter?
December 27th.
Is that the day she left?
Yes.
Have you had any contact with her since the day she left?
No.
How many kids do you have?
2.
Older or younger?
Younger, 17-year-old son.
Is he living at home with you?
Yes.
I read your complaint. According to your complaint, for your daughter's 16th birthday, she's now 18, you purchased a car for her. Is that right? You purchased a car that she drove.
Yes.
And she drove the car continuously from the time she was 16 till the time she was 18.
Yes.
So she left. Did you have another car?
Yes.
So at the time that you purchased the car, it was really for your daughter. Yes. Miss Garnett, don't play around with me, please. Please don't play around with me.
It was a family car.
Okay. It was a family car that she was driving. You had no use for another car unless your daughter was going to be driving the car.
Right.
She moved out when she was 18. There was some argument between the two of you.
Right.
And you kept the car.
Right.
And you want her to pay for the car.
Yes.
That's what I didn't understand. You bought the car, you have the car, and you want her to pay for the car. And
Yes.
what happens after she pays for the car?
What I'm asking for is that when I bought the car, it was to help me out because I'm a full-time student, to help me out with her and her brother with after-school activities. She was in acting lessons, he's in track and basketball. What happened was 8 months ago, we started having major problems because she was secretly in a relationship that I didn't know anything about. And when I found out about the relationship, we went to counseling. I suggested that we go to counseling to try to work our problems out. And when I found out about her in the relationship, I felt betrayed. I felt that she had been lying to me all of this time. And I felt like she should have come to me instead of sneaking around. So we continued to go to counseling, and it still wasn't working out. And we were still having major problems. And she was saying, well, I'm leaving, and I'm not going to stay here and take all of this, and that's when the problems happened.
Okay. But then she left. She did leave the car at your insistence.
Mm-hmm.
So you have the car.
Yes.
What do you want her to pay for?
Because when she had the car, she let the transmission fluid run out of it, and I had to buy a new transmission for it. And it cost about $2,800 for that.
Oh.
And I feel like I should be reimbursed for that because it was her fault. She made payments on it, and she still owes me for it.
How old was she when the transmission fluid ran out?
17.
She owes you for nothing. You may feel as if she owes you for it. You may feel as if she has a moral obligation for it, but she doesn't have a contract to pay you for it. She was a minor at the time it happened.
I
You were
wrote
her
a
mother.
contract out.
Doesn't make any difference whether you wrote a contract out or not, unless she signed a contract with you when she turned 18. You can't make a contract with a minor. So that takes care of your lawsuit. I couldn't really understand it. Still don't understand it. So let's talk about your mother. I'm not going to give this case much longer because you went to counseling with your mom, and evidently that didn't work. Is this the boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Stand up. Tell me your name.
Chris.
Who do you live with, Chris?
My mom.
And where does Miss Garnett live?
With me.
Hmm?
She lives in my house.
Who else lives in your house?
My mom and my stepdad.
You like her?
Tamika? Yeah, she's my girlfriend.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
Do you go to school?
Yes.
What school do you go to?
American River College.
Speak up.
American River College.
And where do you go to school?
American River College.
When did you start school?
I started in August of 2000.
You like him?
Yes.
When did you meet him?
I met him freshman year in high school, and we were friends for 4 years, and then we started a relationship my senior year, and we've been together for about 7 months.
How come you didn't tell your mom about it?
Because my mother doesn't believe in interracial dating, and she told me if I ever did bring a white guy into the house that she would not approve. Mainly that is the reason why I didn't bring him around, and she knew about it. She just didn't tell me, and she told me that if she did find out about it, that there was going to be drastic measures taken. And she did, in fact, ground me for dating him the whole entire summer. Basically, I was grounded the whole entire summer, my first semester of college.
How do you do in school?
Right, I'm doing good, actually.
What's actually?
Actually, for the situation that I've been living in, I'm doing very good, especially being my first semester in college.
How do you pay for school?
I have financial aid, and my grant pays for school.
How is it living in that house?
It's been very stress-free, and I was under a lot of stress in her house, and under the advice of my counselor, I decided, you know, maybe living in her house wasn't too good. And in fact, I was going to stay after my counselor advised me to leave the house. But she actually kicked me out the 26th of December. And
you had
told
an
me,
argument?
Yeah, we had an argument. She grabbed suitcases and she told me to take my stuff and leave, that I couldn't come back.
You didn't mean that, did you?
Well, she was being disrespectful to me, saying rude things to me that were not, you know, very respectful to me as her mother.
Did you ever tell her that you would not only disapprove of, but take measures if she ever had an interracial relationship?
No, I didn't tell her that. What happened was her best friend and her were liking Chris. And I told her, because of morals and the way that I've raised her, that friends should not date friends. What happened was her and her best friend fell completely out. There was a big mess going on because of him. Her friend had a deep crush on him, and he liked her. So that was the reason I disapproved of the relationship.
Ms. Garnett, how many times have you been married? Once?
Yes.
Divorced? Widowed?
Yes, divorced.
Divorced. How long were you married?
7 years.
Were you in love when you got married?
Yes.
How old were you when you got married?
26.
Did your parents approve?
Yes.
If they hadn't approved, what would you have done?
Tried to persuade them.
And if you couldn't persuade them, what would you have done?
Married them, probably.
Sure, you would.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wenice Garnett claims her daughter, Tamika Garnett, owes her for the cost of a car. Tamika says her mother kicked her out of the house because she's involved in an interracial relationship.
Ms. Garnett, it's not Chris's fault if another young lady has a terrible crush on him. Unless, of course, he did something to really encourage that. If he didn't, it's not his fault. You said to me, he cared for my daughter. He's a 19-year-old young man. He lives at home. He's going to college. Never been arrested?
No.
Never been arrested. You do drugs?
No.
I believe him. I'm a pretty good judge. Now let's look at your daughter. Beautiful?
Yes.
Clearly intelligent?
Yes.
A winner. I'm telling you, I'm looking at her and I'm listening to her. She's a winner. Sometimes you have to rely on your children's judgment, even though it wouldn't be your judgment. Even though you would like her to be a little older before she flies off. Mm-hmm. It's certainly the wrong thing for you not to be in communication. Do you know what I mean? Forget about this lawsuit. You and I both know it's nonsense. I think that the only reason you probably brought your daughter to court is you wanted to get to see her and say something to her, and you couldn't without it.
That's not true. I wanted to be reimbursed.
Oh, Miss Garnett, I can't even believe that. I really can't believe that. That you want to be reimbursed from your daughter who's going to college, doing well, on a grant, on financial aid.
I'm in college, too.
But you paid the money already. Listen to me.
I got a loan for that. I didn't have the money.
Listen to me, Miss Garnett. I have a simple answer for you. Sell the car.
The pink slip is in her name. How can I sell it?
She'll sign it over to you.
No, she wants that car.
Well, of course, she would like the car, but she's been doing without it for a couple of months. Is it true that your mother had to take out a loan to pay for this transmission?
Yes.
She doesn't have a lot of money.
No.
You think she could make up that money if she sold the car?
Yes.
So you prepared to let her do that?
Well,
that's a hard thing. I mean, I understand it's a hard thing. Cars for kids are really important. But if your mother took out a loan to pay for the transmission so that you would still have a car to use, and your agreement with her that you would pay her back, is that right? That's a moral thing. You can't enforce it contractually. So, although I can't order you to do that, I think that you really should consider that. Maybe that's just a step. Mom, take the car, sell it, pay off the loan that you took out. I don't want you to have a loan. Just as a nice thing to do. Miss Garnett.
Yes.
You have to be open. This is her boyfriend.
I like him. I don't have a problem.
I think that you probably should.
He
I think
is.
he looks
He's
like a
very
nice young man.
Yeah.
And she certainly is a fine young lady, so whatever you did right. For a long time, right?
Yes.
Do you see your brother?
I haven't seen him since, I've seen him periodically to go pick up mail from the house and stuff, but I haven't actually been able to spend time with him.
You miss that?
Yes.
You miss her?
Yes.
Okay. See if you can work it out. All right?
Okay.
Okay? Good luck.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'd really like to see a relationship develop between my mother and I.
Like we were mother and daughter again.
I still love her, and I always will.
I love you, Mom. I love you.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Himes versus Himes. Step forward, please.
21-year-old government document examiner Tennelle Himes is suing her father, 45-year-old tree trimming supervisor Horace Himes. Tennelle says while she was in boot camp, her father repossessed her car and traded it in.
Miss Himes, the defendant is your father.
Yes, ma'am.
And some time ago, you purchased a car. You needed a co-signer for the loan. Your father agreed to co-sign the loan for you. Later, you were going into the armed forces for a training period. You left the car. You claimed that your father took the car and sold it. And you want to be reimbursed for, I assume, all the money that you put into the car. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
When was this car purchased?
The car was purchased May the 31st of 1997.
And when did you go into the armed services?
I left to go into Air National Guard August the 31st.
Of what year?
2000.
And from the time you got the car in May of 1997 up through August 31st of 2000, were you current in all your car payments?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you find out that your father had taken the car?
Well, this is my mom, and she's my witness. I talked with my mom in September.
September what? Do you recall?
No, ma'am, because we couldn't call when I was in basic.
What
we
date,
couldn't call.
sir, did you take possession of the car?
I took possession of the car, and I can't recall the exact date, but it was in September.
So you would have had no payments due up through August 31st. Had you made September's payment?
No, the payment isn't due until September the 31st.
So you were totally up to date at the time that you left?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So according to you, your father had absolutely no reason to repossess this car?
No.
Okay.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Tennelle Himes says her father illegally repossessed her car and traded it in. Horace Himes says he was justified because his daughter was behind in her payments.
Okay. Mr. Himes?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll hear you, sir.
Okay, in September, I got a call from GMAC that telling me Tennelle didn't pay the note on it.
Did you get a statement as to how much was owed?
Yes, ma'am. I got it
at
right
that
here.
time?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am. There's a whole record on it right there.
Ms. Himes,
Yes, ma'am.
this says that in the year 2000, you failed to make a payment in May. In July, you made a payment of $166 instead of the $296.77.
Right.
And you made no payment whatsoever in August.
I love
So I would just like to see proof that you made all of those payments up through August 31st. Do
Okay.
you have proof that you made all of those payments?
No, ma'am, I don't have proof because I closed out that account and
Yeah.
I opened up a new account and I have a letter stating that they can't pull it up on the computer and I have
I'm not
that
asking
right
you
here.
to pull it up on the computer. I'm telling you that you save your checks.
And
You're not even talking about a year.
Yes, ma'am.
So you saved them.
Okay, some of the receipts that I had paid on my car note were in my car. When I got back home and I asked my dad to bring my belongings with, he hadn't even discussed even taking
This
the
is the
car.
payment history, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're telling me that GMAC was incorrect, and what you do is to go to GMAC and said, I made these payments. Then they're going to ask you for proof that you made the payments.
Right.
What are you going to tell them? The cat ate them?
No, ma'am.
So you owed, at the time, in September, $519.99, which your father, I assume, paid.
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. You wrote the check on September 5th, $519.99, and they received it on the 11th of September. Well, Ms. Himes, your father had every right to take the car back. Your agreement was that you would make the car payments. For some reason, you failed to make the car payments. What did you want him to do?
Okay, he came and got the car. When I was away and I found out that he had the car, I spoke with him. And he told me that he had made a car payment. I stated that I would send money home to him. He stated that that was okay. And if I owed him any more money, I would pay him the rest when I got home.
So then you fibbed to me before when you said to me you had made all of the car payments up through August 31st. You didn't tell me the truth. You had not made all the car payments.
But I left payments home to be paid, though.
Madam, you made no car payment at all in May, and you made half of a car payment in July.
That's what they allowed me to do that. They allowed me to do that.
You have a statement from GMAC that they were giving you a certain grace period?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. How much did you trade the car in for?
I took the car back to the car dealer to take it in because I didn't want my credit to go bad. So for them to buy the car back from me, I called the car dealer and asked him would he buy it back from me. He said, Horace, you was a good customer of ours, so bring it in, we'll see what we can do for you. The car dealer gave me $4,000 for the car. The car was worth over $6,000. That's what she owed on it.
Mr. Himes, you have a certain obligation under these circumstances to get the most that you possibly can for the car.
Right.
If you had sold this car privately, could you have gotten more than $4,000 for it?
I couldn't have got $4,000 for it. I run an ad in the paper, Judge.
You did?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. How long did you run the ad in the paper? 1 week?
No, I run the ad in the paper for 2 months.
And you got no takers?
No, ma'am. I had one guy to come look at it, and he didn't want to buy it because it was messed up so.
All right, Miss Himes, I don't know why you're angry with your father, but your father certainly did what he was supposed to do as a parent. He helped you out in 1997. You got a car. For the privilege of driving around in that car and using it, you paid $247 a month. It's like leasing a car. That's what you did until you paid the whole thing off. I mean, as it happens, your father was out some money. Your father paid at least $520 in order to bring his credit up. You don't have a case against him. You have to act responsibly if you have a car. And if you ran behind in your payments, you have to understand that it's not your credit because you're in the armed services. There's a lot of protection for people in the armed services about getting sued civilly, but there's nothing to protect him. And you as his child should want to protect him, especially since he did a good deed. Your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. In the matter of Bishop versus Davis Fletcher.
Thank you.
Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
You're Anthony.
Yeah.
You're his mother.
Yes.
You don't know anything about this other than what your son tells you. Is that right?
That's absolutely correct.
So why don't you have a seat? Miss Bishop.
Yes, ma'am.
Where were you working on the 1st of August?
I was working at Edge Graphics.
So you drive to work in the morning and you park your car.
Actually, Your Honor, I worked second shift, so I worked 2 to midnight. When I came out at midnight, my car was gone.
You called the police?
Yes, ma'am.
You reported the car stolen?
Yes, ma'am.
2 days later, you got a call, and your car had been in an accident?
Yes, ma'am.
The car at the time of the accident was being driven by you?
Yes.
You want him to pay for the damage to your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Not really the damage to your car, because the car was sufficiently damaged for your insurance company to total it.
Yes, ma'am.
Which left you a balance due on the car note.
Yes, ma'am.
And in addition, you had to go out and put down a down payment on another car.
Yes, ma'am.
So you are suing the defendant for all of your economic losses as a result of him being in an accident while driving your car without your permission.
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. That's what this case is about. Now, Anthony, you recognize that her car was stolen.
Yes.
And according to your answer, you did not steal the car.
Yes, I did not steal the car.
And that you were involved in an accident. It was just that, an accident, so you shouldn't be responsible. Right?
Right.
So, tell me, on what date did you get into this accident?
I don't really know the date. I know it was in August, though.
It was August 3rd.
Okay. So, August 3rd, you were driving her car.
Right.
How did it come about that you were driving her car on August 3rd?
I was telling the guys that I could drive the car.
Just a second. You're jumping ahead of yourself, sir. Let's take it step by step.
Before August 3rd,
yes,
some guys that came to my house, one of my friends told me he had a car. It was his uncle's. So we was riding around in the car.
Before August 3rd?
Right.
Were you riding the car on August 1st?
Right. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd.
Okay. And at that time, you say somebody came to your house and told you that they had a car?
Right.
Who came to your house?
Everett.
And he came into your house?
No, he called my house with his friend Taylor and said his uncle had given him his car.
Everett did?
Right.
Did they come to the house to pick you up?
Yeah, yes.
Just the two of them?
Right.
Did you drive the car on August 1st?
No.
What time did they come to pick you up on August 1st?
About 12 o'clock.
In the afternoon?
Yes.
So you drove the car around 12 o'clock in the afternoon. For how long?
Till about 10 o'clock.
That night?
Yep.
And what happened on August 2nd?
On August 2nd. No, wait, it was August 2nd that they had picked me up because they had a day with the car by themselves. They had picked me up the day after. So it was August 2nd when all this happened.
Okay. So August 2nd, they dropped you off at 10 o'clock at night in your house.
Yes.
And you had not driven the car at all that day.
Right.
And they were driving around.
Right.
What were they doing?
They were driving around, it was like a joyride thing in Everett. He was just picking people up and showing the car off, trying to drive people around to get some gas money so we keep on driving.
Okay. And what about August 3rd? Tell me what happened August 3rd.
On August 3rd, they had picked me up again because we were supposed to do it all again.
Picked you up at what time?
At 12.
In the afternoon?
Right.
Okay. And where were you sitting when they picked you up at 12?
In the back.
But there did come a time when you got into the front.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
When I got in the front, they had just got back from the store. So I said, I know how to drive, let me drive. And so he said, all right, and I got in the car.
They had just gotten back from the store. Just listen to me very carefully, Anthony. They had just gotten back from the store. Does that mean you were at your house when they just came back from the store? Or where were they?
We had all stopped over at Taylor's house to pick up everybody else because everybody usually lives. They were living like close to Taylor's house.
How'd you start the car?
I turned on I used the key.
Really?
Yes.
Did you leave your keys in the car?
No, ma'am. They found my hide key.
Where did you leave a hide key?
Underneath the car and between like the muffler and the gas tank.
I used to have one of those.
Found out it was a bad mistake.
Now, you said I can drive this car, right?
Right.
Have a driver's license?
No.
You have a learner's permit?
No.
So you know you're not allowed to drive a car, right?
Right. But everybody else was driving the car.
So what?
So I figured I knew how to drive too.
I'm going to say this one more time. You knew you weren't allowed by law to drive a car, right?
Right.
And you weren't allowed to drive a car because you didn't have a license.
Right.
And you don't have a license because why?
I hadn't applied for one yet.
Right. Now, how long were you driving this car before you got into an accident?
Only about a minute. I had went down to the bottom of the street. That's all I was going to do. Go down to the bottom of the street and turn around just to show him I knew how to drive. While that happened, a fight had broken out, and I backed up. And while I was backing up, the guy that I hit got pushed into the car. I didn't hit him, he got pushed. And then that's how the damage got done. But it wasn't for that. The only damage I did is the back of the window got broken out. But I didn't even do it because dude got pushed.
So what you're telling me is that you only caused some of the damage to the car?
No, I didn't cause any. I was just backing the car up, and he got pushed into the car. I didn't do it.
There was a lot of damage on this car, Anthony.
That damage. Shh.
Answer my question. There was a lot of damage on this car, correct?
Just the back window was busted out. That's all I knew about.
Let me see the car.
Your Honor, these pictures are showing what the condition of the car before they stole it, and it also shows the condition after.
This is a very old car.
It's a 92 LeBaron.
Somebody smoking in this car?
When?
When you were in the car, either as a passenger or a driver.
Nobody was smoking in the car when I was driving.
I didn't ask you when you were driving. I said when you were a passenger or a driver.
Yes.
Were they putting their cigarettes out on the car seats?
No.
They weren't?
No.
What were they doing with their cigarettes?
They just threw them out the window. I don't smoke, so I don't really remember any cigarettes.
You wanted to say something, sir. You have anything to add to this so far?
Yes, the part of Mr. Davis here saying that he was backing up the street and he didn't do none of the damage. That's just a lie. And the damage was done when he ran over Mr. Kaiser here.
Is this the person he ran over?
This is the person that was hit by the car.
Step up, sir. You weren't there, is that right?
No, I was just in the court.
But you were there at this accident.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Kaiser?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what happened, Mr. Kaiser.
My sister had came out Taylor's house, and she was screaming that him and his brother were getting into a fight. I walked into the house, and they were in there arguing and whatnot, just going back and forth.
Who was arguing?
Taylor and his brother.
Okay.
And
where was he?
They were going to pick him up.
Okay, go ahead.
And when we was in the house, me and my sister were just standing there laughing and whatnot, and the brother had told Taylor, he said, I hope somebody kick your butt one day. And, you know, I was just playing. I said, I'll do it. And he told me, he said, you want to go outside?
Could you just tell me what happened with the car? I'm really not interested in all this, please.
Well,
it's really not important.
Okay.
Just tell me what happened with the car.
All right. Well, we were smoking weed in the car. Everybody that was in the car. We all were smoking weed, drinking, and whatnot. And everybody was hopping railroad tracks. Just hopping. He had to be doing like 80. And
was he in the car at the time?
Yes, he was. And how the window shield got broken out when me and the dude Taylor were fighting. We wasn't fist fighting because we hadn't thrown no fists yet. He was coming down the street because he was like 200 feet up the street, and he was gunning it because the tires were screeching. As he came down, he stopped in the back of us, and he put it in reverse. When he put it in reverse, he gunned it back. And as he was gunning it back, I had looked at the car, and I looked at Taylor, and when I looked at him, he was pushing me into the car.
Where did you get pushed into the car? Back windshield?
Yes, ma'am.
What about the roof?
That's when I flipped over the car.
So you were pushed in the back windshield and you flipped over?
Yes, ma'am.
And that caused the damage to the top of the car?
That caused the damage to the top, the window, and the backlight.
Your Honor? Just a minute. Did you ever steal a car?
No, ma'am.
You ever been arrested for stealing a car?
No, we went to court about it, and they found me innocent of possession of the car.
They did?
Yes.
Well, tell me what happened in court.
Well, in court, they had just found me.
No, don't tell me they found you innocent. You were arrested. Is that right?
Right.
You have the police report?
Yes, ma'am.
Can I see it, please?
I have 4.
Can I see all of your documentation? Was Everett arrested?
No.
No. Did you tell the police about Everett right away?
Yes, they asked whose the car was, and I told them it was Everett. They asked Everett whose the car was, and Everett told them it was his too.
I'm going to see if the police officer was good enough to memorialize what he was supposed to have in his police report. You have a copy of your juvenile papers, sir?
No.
All right. Was there a trial?
Yes.
Yes?
Ma'am, his charges were not only receiving stolen property, but he was also charged with possession
of stolen property and unauthorized use of a motor vehicle.
He was also charged with driving without a license and reckless operation were the 2 traffic offenses, along with the receiving stolen property.
Did you testify at the trial?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was the result of that hearing?
case was dismissed due to the fact that at that particular time I couldn't prove that he had stolen the car.
Right. He couldn't prove that he had stolen the car or that he had knowledge that the car was stolen. Those are the two things that court has to find beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
In order to be found guilty criminally for possession of stolen property, you had to know the property was stolen beyond a reasonable doubt. The burden of proof here is quite something else, sir.
I thought I had the permission to drive the car from the owner because I thought the owner was Everett.
You wouldn't drive in a car, I assume, where they were smoking weed, right?
Right.
Where they were gunning over railroad tracks at 80 miles an hour, right?
Right.
Where they were treating this elderly uncle's car with total disrespect. You wouldn't be in a car like that because that might give you, put your hand down, that might give you some inkling that Everett either didn't like his uncle or that the car was stolen, right?
No.
So you think that if he had his uncle's car and that if he used it the way this young man describes, and I believe him because the pictures say that that's true of the inside of the car, that you believe that Everett was treating his uncle's car with respect?
No, he wasn't respecting the car.
Right. Well, that's what I said, sir. So what did you think, Anthony? Did you think that he hated his uncle and wanted to just trash his car? Or did you think that the car was stolen?
I didn't care about his car because he didn't care about it, and I wasn't trying to hurt the car.
But you did hurt the car. As between you, who were responsible for the final act of trashing the car, and the plaintiff over here, who just went to work and parked her car, who should pay? Hama? Between you, who was directly responsible, because but for the fact that you were behind the wheel of the car at that moment, there wouldn't have been an accident.
The car if the car would have been found, it would have been most of the damage done by Ricky. I shouldn't have to pay for what Ricky did. Now, I did.
Somebody has to pay for it. If most of the damage was done by Ricky, tell me what kind of damage now. Now you're going to tell me what kind of damage Ricky did to the car. Tell me about it.
I don't know what damage Ricky did to the car.
Well, then how can you say Ricky did any damage to the car if you don't know?
Because they said when they took me to trial that damage was done to the car outside of the window being busted. So if damage was done...
It's not just window busted, sir. The entire roof of the car is caved in from him falling over the roof of the car.
But I didn't hit him. He got pushed.
You go to school?
Yes.
Do you go every day?
No.
You've been suspended?
No.
When was the last time you were in school?
About a month ago.
Why?
Because...
Because why?
Because I'm about to get my GED.
Well, what have you been doing for the last month?
Working.
Where?
IGA.
What's IGA?
It's a supermarket.
Perfect. What kind of work are you doing?
I'm a stockman.
Anthony, somebody has to take care of this lady's expenses. Do you understand?
Yes.
You know who that somebody is?
I think you're finna say it's me.
I think you're sufficiently savvy enough to know that the car was stolen, because nobody treats a borrowed car in the way this car was abused for 2 days.
I didn't know it was being broken. All I
looked inside the car, sir. Are you telling me you weren't in the car when they were smoking weed?
Yeah, but
Just a second. Are you telling me that you were or were not in the car when they were smoking dope in the car?
Yes.
You were in the car,
Yes.
right? Were you smoking dope in the car?
Yes.
Were you drinking beer?
We were drinking Long Island iced tea.
Long Island iced tea.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
It's a very strong alcohol.
Who was drinking?
Me, him, That man right there, Everett Taylor.
What's your first name?
Corey.
Do you want to talk to me, Corey?
No.
Or do you not?
I don't.
You just came here as window dressing for these proceedings, I assume.
No, I was in the car at the time of the accident.
Yes, but you prefer not to talk to me, is that right?
Yes.
Wise judgment. You had additional payouts on your car in the amount of $1,881.85. Did you pay those?
Yes, ma'am. And there are also 10 deferred payments for down payment on another car.
I understand that. He's not going to pay for a new car, madam. He is going to pay, however, for the damage that he did, direct damage that he did to you, which was $1,881.85, which is what you had to pay after the insurance company totaled your car. So, in a way, sir, I'm very glad that you're working. Judgment for the plaintiff in that amount. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step it up versus Wickman. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats, huh?
Ms. Carter, based upon your complaint, I gather that you've used the defendant's services as a pet groomer before for your other animals. Is that right?
Yes, it is. I have. I loved her service on my dogs.
You claimed that you took a parrot or a cockatoo or a big bird that you had to her, and she cut the bird's nails.
Correct.
And the bird bled to death. That's what your lawsuit is about.
That's right.
What kind of bird was it?
A lesser softened crested cockatoo. Big name.
And how much did you pay for her?
I traded a rose embroidery machine. We bartered an even trade for Misty Blue at $1,500. And I've got the papers and got the...
Your Honor, she told me $1,200.
No. Well, you set the price. You and the person that you bartered with set the price.
Right.
Where'd you buy it from?
Deb Wallstatt, my witness.
Step up, please. You're Deb?
Yes.
How long have you raised these birds?
7 years.
If I went into a pet store to buy one of these birds, what would I pay for it? If I called a local bird store?
$1,600 to $1,800.
And you're a good friend?
No, I've only met her once.
When you sold her the bird, did you give her any instructions on taking care of the bird?
Yes.
Grooming, etc., nails?
Yes.
Etc.? You gave her instructions?
Yes, I gave her a booklet.
Okay, have a seat.
Thank you.
I may come back to you again.
Okay.
So you bought the bird in January of 2000.
That's right.
When did you take the bird to the defendant?
I took it in June on a Thursday. I don't know the date.
So in June, after 6 months. After 6 months, you took the bird
to get her nails trimmed because I have little nieces and nephews, and she's so sweet. She would go to the children, but the children were like 5, so I didn't want her to scratch. So I just wanted her nail stripped so the children could pick her up. She was just a sweetheart.
Tell me about the conversation when you showed up with the bird.
I asked her if she could trim my bird's fingernail. She said she wasn't really prepared, but sure, we'll do it. Let's do it. She moved the dog off the table, and she put my bird on the table.
And that's how you remember it. She said, I'm not really prepared.
Right. She said, I'm not really prepared. And she had a dog on her table. She put the dog down. She said, well, let's do your bird. Let's do it.
And what happened when she trimmed the bird's nails?
Big drops of blood. Misty got away from her, fell to the ground, and then she couldn't walk on her nails because she was so hurt. She kind of rolled around.
So the first time she cut one nail, was there any blood?
Gobs. Yes, ma'am.
So
gobs,
why didn't
drops.
So after she cut the first nail and there were gobs of blood, why didn't she take the bird and leave?
I did not know that she did anything wrong. You know, I figured she knew what she was doing. It was not an issue to take my bird.
Did you read the book she gave you?
Mm-hmm.
The book say anything about trimming the nails and bleeding?
It was normal. Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
No.
So then she cut the second nail. Was it bleeding?
Mm-hmm.
And then all the bird's nails bled as she cut them?
Yes.
Okay. Then the bird's flailing all over the place. And then what happened?
She did not even have no bird stopper. The ointment to quick or powder to stop the blood. She had a little container with empty, and she kept taking my Misty Blue and she kept rubbing its nail like this, and there was nothing to help my Misty Blue.
And then what happened?
I picked Misty Blue up and I left, and she invited me to a lingerie party. I could just pay her there at the lingerie party that night.
So you took the bird and you put the bird in the car?
Yep.
And
I was going to take Misty Blue home. When I got Misty Blue to my house, Misty Blue was dead. And I went and buried Misty Blue in my backyard.
Did you call
the
defendant?
Yes, I did.
What did you tell her?
I told her Misty Blue died. She told me she was going on a wedding, a marriage.
Yes.
And that was it. She would deal with me 10 days when she got back. She was getting married. She had no time for Misty Blue's death.
Okay, let's hear your version of the events, which is somewhat different from the plaintiff's.
Thank you. Everything so far, I disagree with almost all of it. First of all, it was the beginning of April. It was 2 weeks before my wedding. She didn't come into my shop. She walked to my front door. My place of business is my home. Met her at the front door. I said, I don't do birds. I'm a custom dog groomer. Take it to a vet. The local vets will not do nail cutting. You have to take it to an avian veterinarian. Well, she didn't want to do that. She didn't have money, blah, blah, blah. Please.
Well, what did you say? No, shh, shh.
Okay, I didn't
interrupt.
I talk.
Don't interrupt.
As a friend, please do me this favor as a friend, as a friend. And I said, as a friend, I will do it. I'm not going to charge you any money.
Ms. Carter,
I will do it as a
stop
friend.
sighing. This is not a presidential debate. Go ahead.
She brought the bird down. I did not put the bird on a grooming table. I said, if I'm going to do this, I want you present, not only present, but to be involved in the clipping. And she held the bird in her hands while I clipped the nails. And as I was paring them back slowly, taking piece by piece on the first nail, she stopped me and said, no, 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 I want them shorter than that. Cut them shorter. And I said, Sheila, they're going to bleed. No, it always does that. That's normal. That's no big deal. It does that all the time. So I took it back a little.
Now listen to me, Miss Carter. Do
That's
not
right. That's
speak.
what you said. I then continued on clipping the nails. I told her, I explained to her that, they're going to bleed. I had plenty of quick stop. I run a full-service grooming salon. I did stop the bleeding immediately. Every nail that was clipped was then, cauterized with the quick stop.
They're not supposed to bleed.
Oh, they do bleed if you cut them back that far.
No, I understand. If you cut them back that far, of course, if you cut somebody's nail that far, you get the skin, they bleed.
Right.
She was telling you cut them shorter and shorter, and you were cutting them shorter and shorter, and the bird was bleeding.
And I told her, I said, I'm doing this under protest, Sheila. I don't want to cut them that short. And she said, oh, they're really, really long. I don't care if they bleed.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I finished with the nail clipping. The bird was full of blood. She dropped it twice. I had her holding the bird. She dropped it twice on the floor. Then when she was gathering the bird back up, she got blood on the bird, and it was a white bird. So she wanted to bathe it. Well, you don't bathe a bird in a dog tub, but she wanted to do it. Can I please use your tub? I said, well, you can do it yourself, but I'm not going to do it. I don't want to be liable. And she said, that's fine. And she used the tub. She used the tub with my huge, I have a commercial dog grooming tub with the big sprayer. She sprayed that little tiny bird with this heavy-duty sprayer, got it wet to the skin, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to spray them with a mister. I have bird books. I've got stuff, magazines showing that you are supposed to mist a bird down or put them in a bird bath, which is an inch or two of water, and let them spray themselves and then preen. She didn't believe me, whatever. She was just very persistent on the fact that she was going to wash her bird. So she washed her bird. Then I gave her a towel to dry it with. I walked out of the room because I had company, and I heard the kennel dryer turn on.
She's nuts.
Whatever.
This girl's
I
nuts.
told you.
Off the wall.
I told you.
I'll shut up.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She left my house with her windows rolled down about this far.
What did I drive, honey?
You drove
what
a truck.
vehicle?
Miss
A
Carter,
pickup truck.
one more time,
Okay,
and you're out of here.
And later today,
All of a sudden, I hear somebody banging on the back of my car and yelling and acting crazy.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheila Carter says pet groomer Lori Wickman clipped her bird's nails, causing it to bleed to death. Lori says she warned Sheila she had no experience with birds.
Go ahead.
So then I ran in and took the bird out and wrapped it in a towel. And I said, you have to keep this bird wrapped in a towel. It's going to be cold going home, but get it home, put it in a cage, cover the cage so that it reduces the bird's stress. At that point, she said, no, I don't need to do that. And she took the towel off and left it there. I said, Sheila, keep the towel. You can have the towel. I don't care. Just, keep the bird wrapped in a towel because it will get cold. She left my house with her windows rolled down about this far. And for a draft,
What did I drive, honey?
You drove
What
a truck.
vehicle?
Miss
A
Carter,
pickup truck.
one more time,
Okay,
and
I'll
you're out of
shut
here.
up.
I'm telling you.
I know.
No. Listen to me. Look at me. One more time, you're dismissed and out of here. Go ahead.
So she left with the windows down, and I turned to my company and I said, that bird's not going to live. She left without a towel wrapped around it. It was cold. It was the 1st of April in Minnesota. And she left with that bird not wrapped up in a towel. It was wet to the bone. And if you expose a bird to high or fluctuations in temperature, it can cause severe shock and even death. And I'm almost positive that that's what the bird died from. I don't think it bled to death because it would have died immediately instead of dying 40 minutes later. It was fine until she put it in the tub and then in the dryer. And that was just ridiculous.
Let me see if I can draw you an analogy. Can you imagine taking your father to a doctor? Let's say a doctor who was a podiatrist, takes care of feet.
Yeah.
And said he needs surgery, bypass surgery. The podiatrist said, I've never done that before. And you said, well, we're here already. Are you following where I'm going?
I see where you're going.
Just do me this favor. I have real confidence in you. You know more about medicine than I do, so just take care of it. Isn't that what you did?
In a way, yes, I did. But I did not portray myself as knowing anything about the bird.
You don't, just a second. You don't have to. Podiatrist doesn't say I know anything about hearts. That's what you did with this bird, according to you. I'm taking your scenario as true. I think that there's a mix of both in what these two stories are. I do believe you said to her, I don't cut birds' nails. I'm a dog groomer. And I do believe she said to you, yeah, but I'm here and the bird's nails need to be cut. Come on, we'll do it together. You didn't want to do it. She twisted your arm.
I was trying to be nice.
My bird, shh. Oh, you were almost out. You almost did it. She took the bird to you because you are a groomer. Her head, you groom dogs, you cut their nails, you can groom birds and cut their nails. So she took the dog to you because of your, in her mind, expertise. And all you had to do was say no. I did. But you did it. That was wrong. That was wrong. People have the ability to say no and mean it. No, I'm sorry, Sheila. I don't do that. As much as I like you, you have to take the bird someplace else. End of conversation. Come to my lingerie party. We'll have a good time. So as nice a lady as you are responsible for the death of this bird. Judgment for the plaintiff and the amount of the request, which is $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I do hope that if she does get another bird, she'll at least educate herself on how to take care of it.
I am so happy for the verdict. I won my Misty Blue. I love my Misty Blue.
And now the next case.
All parties on Brownback versus Winters. Step forward.
73-year-old Roberta Bromback is suing homemaker Barbara Winters for a fender bender in the parking lot of a Goodwill. Barbara says she never hit her.
Miss Bromback, according to your complaint, the defendant hit the bumper of your car.
Yes, ma'am.
And damaged it. You want her to pay for the damage.
Yes.
She says she did nothing. And she, in addition, fled the scene, according to you.
Yes.
When did this incident occur?
I think it was on the 8th or 9th of September.
Where?
I had a lady with me, a friend of mine, who is blind from a stroke, and we were giving some stuff to the Goodwill. We were parked in behind the Goodwill, and I was putting her back in my car. All of a sudden, my car reared up. She was very frightened, and I turned around, and I looked, and I said to her, hey, she was moving. After she straightened out her car, I said, you hit my car. She stopped, looked at me, and went like this. Well, I got angry at this, and I dropped the wheelchair, and I got her license number, and I turned her into the police station as a hit and run.
Do you have a copy of that report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
That's where the police called me to identify her. And these are appraisals. These are pictures.
Okay, so what did you do after you got the information from the police department?
I was told I had to go down to the police station, and she told me that I had to identify her. Well, I went in, she had 6 pictures, and immediately I said, it's number 1. And she said, are you sure? I said, yes. And she said, well, that's her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was afraid if I got out, she might get violent or something. Well, she's waving around and yelling.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 73-year-old Roberta Bromback is accusing Barbara Winters of hit and run. Roberta says Barbara backed into her car and fled the scene.
Go ahead.
Then she gave me that paper you have and said for me to call her and see if she wanted to settle this in a civil manner. I called her and I asked her. She told me she didn't know what I was talking about. She's sick. She went on. And I said, well, ma'am, I'll call you later date. And I called her again. Then she said, I want your phone number, your car license, what kind of car you got, and where you live. I said, fine. I'll be glad to give it to you. And then from there, she didn't want to pay me, so I filed small claims on her.
Okay. Miss Winters, September 8th, in the parking lot right outside of Goodwill. You were there?
Yes, I was.
Okay. What kind of car were you driving?
A Mercedes 300D, a burgundy color car.
And tell me about what your recollection is of the incident that involved the plaintiff's car.
Okay, I had dropped some stuff off at the charity, and I'm quite familiar with this place because I often take things to the charity. And I was backing up, and all of a sudden I hear somebody banging on the back of my car and yelling and acting crazy. She said something about, "You touched my car." And I was a little scared because when people start to act crazy like this, I get worried because we had an incident at one time where my husband, the back of his car was touched. He was parked, and the people came out and said, "Look, come check the back of your car." And he did. And when he gets back into his car, and he found out that his briefcase had been stolen. So you
didn't think this little old lady is going to steal your briefcase?
I didn't really know.
You don't mind if I say that. You know what I mean.
You're right.
You know what I mean. She's not going to steal your property.
I did not act crazy.
Right.
Anyway, I've had a few unpleasant experiences like this.
So you left.
So I left, and I did not do this. I think I maybe did this. In other words, calm down. It's okay. But I did not feel that I had touched her car. And I was afraid if I got out, she might get violent or something. I didn't see anybody. Well, she's waving around and yelling. So.
All right, so you're contacted by the plaintiff sometime later. Is that right?
Yeah, I got a letter from the police department, actually.
Okay, and what did you do?
I thought, oh, I wonder if it was that little thing where that lady banged on the back of my car. And I looked at the back of my car, and I saw no indication of any bumping or anything. I have a rubberized kind of a car, and there's no way that the damage that I've been accused of could have happened. So I went to the police department, and the detective interviewed me, and we took a look at the back of my car, and she said, "No, I don't see any evidence of any damage to the back of your car." And I do have a statement actually from her, and I do have some pictures of my car.
Okay.
Oh, and then I have the pictures, and I think I'll show you the pictures. One is the rear bumper of my car, which you will see has no contours on it. There's no metal. And then there's a picture of her car, and there's a picture of the scrapes to her car, which look like they could be taken care of with a spray can, because there's no dents on her car.
You drive a Buick Century?
Yes, Your Honor. I gave her my home address, my license number of my car, in good faith. Last Sunday, this lady came to my house. The neighbor upstairs saw her. She took her Mercedes bumper to bumper and hit me again to take pictures.
No, she didn't hit you. What she did was listen to me. She didn't hit your car. What she did was she put a bumper to bumper
right.
to see if there was a place.
So, you know.
Whatever. Listen, she's entitled to do that. That's a very smart thing to do. She said, if I'm being accused of something, I want to see if it's possible.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Look, Miss Winters, there isn't a question in my mind that this lady is not crazy and that there were no marks on her car beforehand. She acted responsibly and immediately by going to the police because you took off. You took off, according to you, because you were afraid that she was crazy and that she might do something like steal your briefcase, steal your property, do something else. So you decided not to confront the situation immediately by getting out of your car and going to look in the back and saying, listen, let me see the damage you claim that I did, which would have resolved this whole dispute. If you had stopped immediately, gotten out of your car, I assume you have a cell phone, right? If you're afraid of her, you say, just a minute, I'm not getting out of my car, I'm calling the police. We'll wait for the police to arrive. Possibility?
Possibility.
But you decided not to do that. You just decided to take off. You owe her $410 for the repairs to her car.
Tucker versus Marquez. How you doing, Judge?
Good. How are you, Bird?
Doing fine.
Good.
Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Ms. Tucker, your complaint is that the defendant, who is a total stranger to you, damaged your car in a parking lot of a bar.
Yes, ma'am.
When did this happen?
Saturday, September 2nd, after midnight, so it'd probably be Sunday, early morning.
How long had you been in the bar?
For about 45 minutes.
You drove?
Yes, ma'am.
Parked your car in the parking lot?
Yes.
What happened when you came outside?
Miss Marquez was coming across the street towards the club, and she had not made it to the curb yet, and she had asked if I had seen a Lorraine Marin. And I told her, no, I haven't, and I really don't give a about that girl.
Why would you answer that way?
Well, Your Honor, I was a little bit irritated that she came up to me because this girl has a bad reputation, and I was in a
Which
bad
girl?
mood.
Which
Lorraine
girl?
Marin.
Yeah.
And I was in a little bit bad mood, and I was a little bit rude to her. But I don't care for her. She has a really bad reputation in our community. And
You mean this Lorraine has a bad
Yes.
reputation, but you didn't know her at all?
No, I didn't.
You were in a bad mood?
Yeah.
So you were rude?
A little bit.
Okay. What happened next?
She stepped up onto the curb to the sidewalk and said, "You have a really bad attitude."
Which she did?
Yes.
Okay.
And she says, "Obviously, you don't know who I am." And I told her, "I really don't care who you are." And at that time, she kept coming forward to me, and I said, "What are you going to do, beat me up?" And she didn't say anything. And she proceeded to just stand about 4 feet away from me with her back up to the wall of the club entrance.
So she's standing with her back towards the club entrance.
At that point, I didn't want anything to deal with her. I did not want to fight with her. I just got in my car and left. She didn't say anything. She was really quiet. So when I was pulling out, I noticed her hands were in her jacket pocket, and she was just looking at me. She pulled out a bottle of beer and hurled it at my car. And it hit my window like about right here. And if it would have hit 4 inches down lower, this would have been a whole different case. She would have hit me in the head. I could have been blind. I could have, been maimed for life.
Was your car window open or closed?
Yes, it was open all the way down, and there was glass all over me, and I was completely wet. I had a prior burn cooking, and it had opened up from the glass, and it was bleeding.
So what did you do?
I got out of my car. She was kind of just standing there. I think she had thought she had made her mark, but she didn't. And I went up to her, and I got her by the nape of the neck, and I held her down away from my body, and I told the patrons in the bar to call the cops. I'm putting her under citizen's arrest.
And somebody called the police?
Someone did call the police.
Police arrived?
The police did not arrive. She started to struggle and squirm, and she was saying, "Let me go, let me go." And I was feeling a little bit uncomfortable detaining her. So I let her go, and she darted off around the club and down some dark railroad tracks. And at that point, my friends urged me. I was bleeding, kind of a little bit stunned. So I went home, and I called the police. They said, "I'm over here. Come and take a police report."
And did they?
Yes, they did.
How did you find out her name?
Because we live in a really small neighborhood. It's Niles, and we have a mutual friend that works at a pizza parlor in our town.
But you had never had any contact with her
I've
before?
never seen her before. But her family has a very...
I don't care about her family. I'd like to see the photographs that you seem to have, and I'd like to see the police report, please. Okay, and you actually saw the defendant pick up this bottle and hit your car with it?
I saw her put her hand in her coat and take it out of the coat and go like this.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Marquez, would you tell me your version of the events, please?
Yes, ma'am. On September 3rd, it was past midnight, I had been out with Lorraine. I somehow lost her because I don't go inside the bars. She had been sitting, playing pool, whatever she was doing inside the Derby, and I went back there to not pick her up, but to meet with her, and I didn't go inside the bar. The bar door was closed, and she was exiting the bar. Terry Tucker was exiting the bar. And I asked her, "Hey, is Lorraine in there?" She said, "I don't know who that Lorraine is, and I don't really care where she is." And I just stood there, and I was like, "Man, you got an attitude problem, lady." And she's all, "I know I do. What are you going to do about it?" I wasn't exactly looking for a physical altercation with her. I just wanted to I asked a simple yes or no question. She proceeded to just keep calling me all kinds. She called me a Mexican hussy, a chicken. She called me all kinds of and I hadn't even spoken after this. I had just still asked a simple question. And see, I'm not accustomed to be spoken to this way, especially when I'm not, doing anything to her. And I just stood there, and I'm not going to walk off. I proceeded to wait for her, and she just kept talking and talking and talking and calling me all kinds of names. She then got in her car, and then she turned it on, she reversed. I was still standing there, and she rolled down her window, and she's all, "I told you you weren't going to do nothing, you chicken." Then I started saying something back to her, and I was like, what do you want me to do? I wasn't looking for any kind of problems with this lady. And after I started yelling, back at her, because I wasn't yelling at her when I was standing there, she got out of her car, and she walks up to me, and she's all, "Watch this, you little..." And she grabbed my hair, and I've never been tossed around like this, okay? She grabbed my hair, wrapped it around her wrist, got her nails into my scalp, And then said, "You're like coming with me," and she walked me off to the side. At this point, I'm totally hunched over, I'm like in shock, going, "Oh my God," you know, because I couldn't do anything about it. And she starts pounding on the barred door, and I'm like thinking it's funny right now because I'm like, "Oh, I can't believe this is happening." I just asked her, "Is Lorraine in there?" You know how? And they open the door and she walks in, and my head smacks the side of the door where the you know, whatever. Okay. And then I started to taste blood, and I started, you know, I was bleeding, my eye was messed up, my gums were bleeding, I got scraped along the side of the door, and then I was like, "I'm bleeding, let me go, you know, come on." And then when I heard she was calling the cops, yeah, I started to wiggle and squirm around. I was appalled. I couldn't believe that I'm getting my, you know, I started squirming, "Let me go, let me go, let me go."
And you finally got free?
Yeah, she let me go. There's no way I could have gotten free if she would have let me go.
Where did you go?
Walked home. I lived like 2 minutes from the place. And that's when I went home and I said, "I'm bleeding. There's blood clotted at the bottom of my nostrils." And she opens the door and she's like, I'm like, "You were at the bar, you know, where were you?"
Listen to my question.
Huh?
So you got home.
Mm-hmm.
Did you call the police?
No.
You were just severely assaulted. Blood is all over your mouth. Blood is caking in your nose. You were assaulted by a perfect stranger after asking a simple question. When, for the first time, were you contacted by the police?
The next day, I was in the shower, and the doorbell rang. I then said, "Who is it?" It says, "Fremont Police, ma'am."
Okay, so it was the next day
that
you were contacted by the police in connection with the plaintiff's complaint of vandalism.
Yes.
Prior to this incident, have you ever been arrested?
What does that have to do with it? I know what it... Yes, I have.
Speak not. I'm not speaking to you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you currently, Miss Marquez, taking any prescription medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any other kind of medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Do you understand where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
Bert and I have been together for a long time, Miss Marquez. Uh-huh. Bert's got the same kind of nose that I do.
And later today...
You never paid her for the car.
She never asked for the money until that ketchup incident.
So you had to fight over the ketchup and she wanted the money.
She threw a fit over ketchup, so she asked for the money.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Terry Tucker is suing Becky Marquez for throwing a beer bottle at her car. Becky says Terry attacked her for no reason.
Okay. When was the last time you were arrested?
August 31st, 2000. Charges were dropped. No case.
What were you arrested for?
I don't care to discuss that. That's not what I'm here for.
Prior to the 31st of August, when were you arrested?
I don't see what that has to do with this. That's all fine. Yeah, I've been arrested more than once. That's fine. I have no problem admitting that. I don't care if I win or lose this. I am here to make a statement that I did not do anything at all to this perfect stranger. I asked her a question, and that is it. Regardless as to my record, that's nobody's business. Well, yours or hers or anybody's.
Are you currently, Miss Marquez, taking any medication?
Am I?
Yes.
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any prescription medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Any other kind of medication?
No, I am not, ma'am.
Okay. So now you're going to have my ruling. Ruling is based on common sense. Do you understand where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
Bert and I have been together for a long time, Miss Marquez. Bert's got the same kind of nose that I do. Right? What doesn't seem to fit, Miss Marquez, with regard to your statement is, common sense would dictate, madam, that if someone had just for absolutely no reason assaulted me, causing me to bleed in the mouth, have kicked up blood in my nostrils, pulled my hair, banged my head into a wall, the first thing that I would do when I made it home that couple of blocks is to pick up the phone, call the police, and say, this perfect stranger, who absolutely had a bad attitude,
exactly,
just assaulted me. This is where it happened. You did nothing. On the other hand, the plaintiff contacted the police immediately. The police responded. The police noted damage to the car. The police noted glass all over the car, totally consistent with someone throwing some sort of an object at the car. Common sense would dictate that when someone is the victim of a crime, in this case vandalism, they want the right person apprehended. They don't want the wrong person apprehended. They want the right person to be apprehended and to be punished, right? So there would be no reason that she would give your name as the person who threw the bottle at her car unless it was true. Let me see the estimates of the damage, please.
The last thing I'm going to do is bring to your attention that I've been arrested before, but since it's all out in the open, obviously due to this, I am on certain court-ordered probation. The last thing I'm going to do is call the cops and bring them to me for any reason. I wasn't fatally injured. I was going to get over it. I took a shower, cleared up, had a bruise for a couple of days. The last thing I'm going to do is call the police, because when that happens, most of the time they're not in my favor. I'm not going to call the police. They're not. It wasn't necessary.
You were the victim of an assault.
And I'm not going to call the police. I don't call the cops on nobody, especially not myself. The further away I stay from them, the better off I am. Period.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of
That's fine.
$758.
That's fine.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Yeah.
I anticipate there may be a little bit of problems.
We want the truth to come out, and I will talk to Terry later.
Just tell the truth and do what you think is right.
And now the next case.
All parties on Safdar versus Johnson. Step forward.
25-year-old waitress Violet Safdar is suing former friend, 25-year-old waitress Melissa Johnson, for the unpaid balance on a used car. Melissa is countersuing for repair bills.
You and the defendant used to be friends, and then you made the stupid mistake of selling her a used car.
Yes.
Never did that. And it is your claim that she owes you $500, which was the agreed-upon price.
Yes.
She says that the repairs cost more than you told her they were going to cost. She's countersuing for $1,600, and she says you stole the pink slip to her car. Right?
Yes.
And that this whole thing would not have come down to a lawsuit, except that you had a fight over something at your place of employment about filling up ketchup bottles.
Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Didn't you ever hear the expression?
That's not right
I want
either.
you to try receiving and stop talking. Maybe you'll be more successful in life.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Violet Safdar says former friend Melissa Johnson owes her for the unpaid balance on a car. Melissa says Violet lied about its condition.
Okay, just my own curiosity. You didn't tell me what the fight was about the ketchup bottle, so who's going to tell me about that?
I'll tell you.
Okay.
Okay, randomly at work, to finish our end of day side work for our job.
You are both waitresses?
Yes. So I asked her, are you going to help me with my side work? She said no. At that point, I didn't say anything. I stayed a half hour overtime to finish my work. She stayed. We went home. I was living with her at the time. We went home. And from then, we haven't talked.
And was the side work filling up the ketchup bottles?
And syrups.
And syrups?
Yes. Which are two big jobs instead of like two small jobs, or like setups and sugar and salt. So.
Okay. When did you sell her this car?
June 2000.
What kind of car was it?
A Honda 1986 Prelude.
What was the agreement?
The agreement was that the car needed, that I knew of, $600 to $700 worth of work, and she would then pay me when the work was done.
Just a minute. What was the agreed upon price of the car?
$500.
Is that right?
She said when I was able to make the payments or pay whenever I could the $500 when the car was fixed. To this day, the car is still not fixed. I've made almost $3,000 in repairs.
Well, why didn't you stop at $600?
I had already put too much in it, and it was
no.
It was stupid to just stop, because why did I put that much? I'm not getting that back. If I put that in it, why?
Miss Johnson, you took the car to a mechanic. What was the first thing that the mechanic said to you when you brought the car there?
They told me it would cost around probably about $600, and then 2 days later it broke down again. It was another problem. Another.
Initially, you took it to a place of your choice.
Mm-hmm.
They told you it would cost you between $600 and $700 to fix it, which is exactly what she said to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then you started to fix it.
Yes.
So she did not purposely deceive you.
No, but she didn't know what all was wrong with the car.
That's
either.
your problem. You buy a car that's 14 years old. The fact that you decided to spend more money doesn't mean that you get another farthing from her. So your counterclaim is dismissed.
Well, I don't think that I should have had to put that much into it.
You shouldn't have.
No,
it's not her fault, it's your fault.
And should I go and spend even more money on another car? That's not right.
No,
I have this car.
Ms. Johnson,
I'm dealing with it.
Don't try to talk over me. No. you shouldn't spend any more money on this car.
So should
Didn't
I
you
just
ever hear
left
the
it?
expression?
That's not right
I want
either.
you to try receiving and stop talking. Maybe you'll be more successful in life. Did you ever hear the expression, throwing good money after bad? Did you ever hear that expression?
No.
Bird, did you ever hear the expression, throwing good money after bad?
Mm-hmm. Every time I spend bad money.
Right? Would you keep pouring thousands of dollars into a 14-year-old car?
No.
You would say, I'm going to cut my losses, and instead of spending $3,000 to get this car fixed, once the $600 is over, I'm going to unload this car. Maybe I can get a couple of $100 for it and buy myself a car that maybe runs. It's not her fault that you decided to put all this money in the car. She did not commit fraud against you. She had the same information you got from your own person. Nobody can tell that a car is going to continually break down. Nobody.
Yeah,
so
even
your
the mechanic said I would be back. Even the mechanic the first time said I would keep coming back.
Counterclaim is dismissed.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You still have the car?
Yes, not really, but it's broke down in Corona. I don't run now.
Do you want it?
Not really.
Good. You want to sign over the pink slip to her?
It's still in my name.
Shh. So you still own the car?
Yes, ma'am.
Go and get it.
I've put too much money
Go and
into
get
it to just give it up like that.
Well,
she did sign it over. She gave me the pink slip, and then she went and deceived me and took it out of the car.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You never paid her for the car. Shh. Listen to me. You
She
can't have
gave
it
me the
both
pink
ways.
slip. She did give me the pink slip, and then
Miss
she
Johnson,
took it back from
pay
me.
attention. Do you want the car?
Yes, I'm going to sell it. I'm going to resell it. Now I put too much money into it. It's useless to just throw it away like that.
Fine, then you have to give her $500.
I worked hard for that much.
Shh, just listen to me. Then you have to give her $500.
I don't believe I should. No, it's...
You didn't pay her for the car.
She never asked for the money until that ketchup incident.
So you had to fight over the ketchup, and she wanted the
She threw
money.
a fit over ketchup, so she asked for the money.
Miss Johnson, you want the car, or you want to pay her for the car?
I don't want the car, but I'm going to keep it because I spent too much money on it.
Then you have to pay her. Now, what are you going to do?
I guess I don't have a choice, but I don't feel...
Coaches. Twice have been sworn in, Judge. You're welcome. You may be seated.
Mr. Fisher, the defendant used to live with your current fiancée.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've been living with, her first name is Melissa,
Yes, Your Honor.
for 3 years.
Approximately 3 years, yes, Your
And how old is the child?
5 years old.
You claim that the defendant maliciously and willfully did several things. He first filed charges against you with internal affairs. You are a police officer.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition to that, he filed for a restraining order against you, causing you to have to hire counsel.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in addition, he filed charges with Child Protective Services alleging that you had either abused and or neglected his daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
All of those charges, according to you, were dismissed.
They were, Your Honor.
And you want to be compensated for all your aggravation.
Yes, Your Honor.
And your defense, Mr. Gatchez, is that you had a right to file these charges.
That is correct.
Okay. When was the incident that precipitated the filing of these charges?
Well, Your Honor, for the last 3 years, this man has harassed myself and my fiancée, Melissa. He couldn't get through the courts to get Melissa, so he elected to in turn attack me, Your Honor.
Were there custody proceedings involving the child?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is that right, sir?
That's correct. The judge ordered for us to have the same visitations and the same rights, which is half and half, 50-50. And I got proofs of that.
Let me see what you have. Did you ever sign this stipulation for custody, sir?
Yes, I did.
Because it's not signed here.
Your Honor, it hasn't...
Shh. Melissa signed it. Why haven't you signed it?
I requested these copies from the lawyer, and he still has them.
No. You have this thing here,
Okay.
Mr. Gatchez. This is a letter that was sent to you. It's a stipulation regarding the custody and visitation order that was agreed to after you all went to mediation.
That's right.
And Melissa signed it. It was awaiting, signed it back in December of 1999.
Correct.
It was awaiting your signature so it could be so ordered by the judge. Why did you never sign it?
The reason why, because I remember now that there were some things that they were still not settled, like the taking our kid to counseling. That was one.
Well, what did you do to follow up on it, sir?
I haven't had money. I have been on disability, and I haven't had money to go to court, Your Honor.
I mean, you go through a whole process. A psychologist, mediator spends hours, if not days, discussing the recommendations with you. They come up with a plan that you both agreed to, and it's clearly laid out here. And then in order to resolve the whole matter, forwarded to you is the stipulation for you to sign so this matter can be resolved. Now it's a year, and you haven't done it. That's outrageous.
Okay.
Outrageous. Okay. Let's start out with the Child Protective Services, please. Did you, in fact, sir, file charges against him with Child Protective Services?
Not against Mr. Fisher, or what I called because I wanted him to investigate. I wanted to put a complaint.
So what was the complaint that you put in?
The complaint was about the incident that happened that night, which was Mr. John Fisher, yelling at my daughter, using bad language.
What did he say? Well, your daughter must have told you this, right?
No, that happened
you were
the same
there.
night when I was dropping my daughter off, when the incident happened.
Oh, well, tell me about the incident, sir, that caused you to call in a report to Child Protective Services.
It was more verbal abuse, moral
Tell me
abuse.
about it. What did you tell them? How did you tell them that he abused your daughter?
By him yelling at me in front of her, using bad language, ordering my daughter to get out of my truck, and scaring my daughter, using bad language.
Tell me what he did.
Well, what he did was that the night of the 23rd, he arrived in his truck. He parked in the driveway, and
Of whose house?
his house.
So he came to his house and he parked his truck in his driveway.
Correct. He got out of his truck, came over to me.
What were you doing there?
I was waiting for her mother to arrive from work.
So you were waiting
Yes.
to return her from your custody arrangement?
Correct, yes. And he approached me. He came over where I was parked at. My daughter was right there with me inside the truck. And he started using profanity. Like,
What did he say?
he said, what's wrong with me? Okay, and I go, okay. And he ordered my daughter to get out of the truck and to go inside the house. My daughter refused. He told him, he told my daughter twice to get out of the truck. My daughter was scared and she jumped into my arms. And that's what happened.
Don't talk to each other, please. Just look at me.
And he ordered my daughter twice to get out of the truck, okay? And he asked me why the heck I was telling my daughter not to go with them. So I ain't gonna leave my daughter with someone like you in this type of mood that he was in, because he did stink, you did stink.
Just a second. Look at me, not him. What happened next?
He told me to get out of the truck, talk man to man, okay? So what I did, I got out of the truck because I was afraid, I was afraid of my life.
So you got out of the truck and what happened?
I got out of the truck and started, using more bad language, okay? He started telling me that he's a big American guy, that he has a big job, that how come I do not help her mother with money. And he was not making sense that night.
That makes perfect sense to me, sir. You look like a very healthy man to me. Why aren't you working? It says you don't work here. Just a second. Answer my question.
Sure.
You look very strong and very healthy. It says here, in one part of this report that I just read, that it would be very nice for your daughter to spend the time with you because you don't work. Why don't you work?
Because I'm on disability.
What kind of disability are you on?
I got bad knees and I got bad back.
You got bad knees and you got a bad back.
Correct.
You drive a truck?
I'm a delivery driver, correct, Your Honor.
You were a delivery driver. You were driving a truck at the time you drove your daughter home, right?
That's right.
Yeah. When was the last time you sent child support for your daughter or supported her?
There had not been any court orders about child support, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
Your Honor, I'd like to add...
I'll get to you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Did she get hurt?
Yeah, many times.
Many times,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
What do you think, I was there? It happens.
You're right.
Of course. Think I'm just a good guesser? They don't keep me around here because I'm gorgeous, you know.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deputy Officer John Fisher says his fiance's ex-boyfriend, Jorge Gatches, falsely accused him of child abuse and making threats.
Now, when did you call Child Protective Services?
The same night after I left the scene.
What did you tell them?
I told him I just wanted to get more information, and I wanted to let him know what happened that night, that my daughter was crying and she was scared. My daughter was refusing to stay alone with them, which she had done it many times before, Your Honor.
Now, when did you file a restraining order against him?
A couple days later.
Why?
Because the same night when I was dropping off my daughter, he threatened me with, because he said that he knows the law, he works with the law, and he knows the law much better.
Yes?
That he knows the law much better than me, okay? And
I think you know a little bit about the civil law, at least very well, at least about workman's compensation and disability. You know a little bit about that. You have a lawyer, right? You have a lawyer, right?
Yes, I do.
You hurt yourself. Let me see if I can put this together. I bet you hurt yourself while you were on your job, right?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
You think I'm just a good guesser? They don't keep me around here because I'm gorgeous, you know. You hurt yourself on your job. You have a lawsuit pending against your employer?
That's correct, Your Honor.
How long have you had a lawsuit pending against your former employer?
It has been about 2 years and a half.
And you go to see a doctor regularly?
Yes.
You go to a chiropractor, perhaps?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
Yes, of course. Could almost write the script, right?
You're good.
Would you prefer to sit down, Mr. Gatches? Is your back bothering you?
I'm fine, thank you.
I know you're fine. So he threatened you that he knows the law better than you. I'm not so sure about that, Mr. Fisher. I think he's got the system pretty well played out.
I think so too, Your Honor.
Right. Okay, now let's get to internal affairs. Did you file a complaint against Mr. Fisher with internal affairs?
Not that I can recall that one.
Okay. Do you have any documentation that
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Gotch... Shh, let me finish the question, Mr. Fisher.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any documentation that Mr. Gotch has filed an independent complaint with regard to the incident of the 23rd of August with the police department?
Yes, Your
Internal
Honor.
Affairs. Can I see it,
A
please?
letter from Internal Affairs.
Bottom line is that they, in effect, decided not to pursue any of these complaints because, according to this letter that was sent to you, sir, while you may find Deputy Fisher's conduct objectionable, your complaint does not describe any unlawful conduct. So clearly, you did send a letter of complaint to the Sheriff's Internal Affairs Division, right?
Yes, I did.
Well, that's what I asked you before. I don't understand why this verbal confrontation took place at the beginning, sir. Mr. Gatches, if you got to the house and Melissa wasn't home, instead of sitting outside and waiting for her, why didn't you just either go to your house, take Melissa out for a soda, come back when she was there? Why did you sit there and wait for her?
That night, my daughter, it was the second time that she didn't want to stay alone with them. Plus, you know, he's sick.
Wait, stay alone with whom?
Excuse me?
Stay alone with whom?
With Mr. Fisher. She refuses to stay alone with him.
Well, that's not true, sir. I
Your
guarantee
Honor.
you, sir, they've been living together for almost 3 years, and I guarantee you there are times when your daughter stays home with Mr. Fisher.
Many times, Your Honor.
Without Melissa. Nowhere in this psychiatric and psychological report and the mediation report does it suggest that Mr. Fisher is an inappropriate custodian. It doesn't say that.
Okay.
You live with a child who's 5 years old. Sometimes you're going to raise your voice, right?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Fisher has never used any corporal punishment with regard to your child, right?
That's not what my daughter told me one time.
Oh, well, tell me what your daughter told you
That
one
she
time.
got pushed in the bathtub by him, but he came out with a different story, so I left it to that. And also her mother called me saying that it was just an accident that it happened in the bathtub.
Well, does that sometimes happen, Mr. Gatches? An
She may
accident in the
probably
bathtub?
happen.
Shh. Does that sometimes happen, sir?
Yes.
Let me take you back to when your daughter, and you were living with her at the time, was about 1.5 years old. She started to walk. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember her falling?
Yes.
You remember her falling next to a table?
Yes.
Did she get hurt?
Yeah, many times.
Many times,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
What, do you think I was there? You think I had a camera in your living room?
No.
It happens. You think somebody should notify Child Protective Services because you weren't watching her carefully enough?
You're right.
Of course.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He claims poverty, but he runs up attorney bills to thousands of dollars. Where does he get this money? And then he gets in court and he can't even keep his lies straight, Your Honor.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Fisher says Jorge Gatches filed false charges against him, causing him to hire a lawyer.
Listen, you may not like him because he's not working, and you know he's full of baloney.
He's a liar. He's so bored with his life, he drives around the block, getting dizzy watching our house. He's a thorn in our side, and he's waiting for us to get married so that he can take us to court and use my income so he can sponge off the system some more for child support.
Listen to me, Mr. Fisher.
It's the way he is, Your Honor.
Mr. Fisher, you're angry.
I'm not angry, Your Honor.
No, Mr. Fisher, you're angry. And you may have a right to be angry.
Your Honor.
What?
That night it did happen. Well, he did threaten me with my life. He said that he was going to send me back, deported back to my country because he knows a friend that lives up the street that lives for the INS, that he knows the system much better than I do, and that he is not afraid to take me in pieces.
Okay.
And, because I was afraid of my life, I did try to get legal counsel, and they told me what to do, and that's what I did. That's why I followed all this process, because I felt, danger for my life and for my daughter, not just, physically, but also by my daughter's health, because this man over here is taking medication for tuberculosis, and he can also infect my daughter with it.
If you knew what you were talking about, you wouldn't be talking.
What's the medication that you're taking for?
Listen to me, Bird. I think we should have different positions here. Why don't you go over here?
Sure.
I'm not happy with the fact that the two of you share physical custody of a 5-year-old child and can't at least be civil to each other.
Your Honor, I could be totally civil with this man if he would quit running up attorney bills. He claims poverty, but he runs up attorney bills to thousands of dollars. Where does he get this money? He had enough nerve to call my house and ask Melissa for a loan to pay his attorney bills that he's ran up to $10,000 or $12,000.
Which attorney? For which attorney?
For the one over the custody issue. This man, every time you turn around, we're in court. I personally, myself, have paid around $6,000 in attorney bills because of frivolous motions and stuff like this, restraining orders, and then he gets in court and he can't even keep his lies straight, Your Honor. This man compounds lies so bad he can't even remember the first lie he told.
Okay.
If he was so scared that night, Your Honor,
he wasn't so
why
scared.
did he get, well, that's what he claims in the TRO. Why did he get out of his truck?
Why did you approach me to my truck?
You know,
That's
why
none
did
of
he,
your
if I
business.
had guns and all this other stuff he
You
says,
do.
what?
I don't want you to talk to each other.
The only reason he knows I have guns is because of the line of work I'm in. His daughter has never, ever seen a gun in my house, has never seen me carry a gun. I make it a point not to have guns around.
Listen, I strongly urge you, Mr. Gatches, there is a stipulation here. Melissa signed it. It was waiting for a judge's signature, and there is no reason in the world why you should not sign this thing and put an end to the court works amongst you. Do you understand?
I understand, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Fisher,
Yes, Your Honor.
you think that you've acted wholly appropriately, listen to me, wholly appropriately on the evening of August 23rd?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you say anything to him about, if you want a nice car like this, why don't you get a job?
No, Your Honor, what was said was, he says, you think you're somebody because you're a cop and you drive a $40,000 truck. And I simply said to him, I'm sorry you drive a piece of... I wake up every morning and go to work. That's why I drive a new truck. That's exactly what I
You can
said.
tell that he was using profanity in front of my daughter. Why does he do that?
He may not be perfect, Mr. Gatches. You're not perfect either. We know that. About a lot of things.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
So everything was dismissed. Did you have to hire an attorney?
Yes, Your Honor, this was my job.
Okay.
They took my gun from me.
They did?
Yes, Your Honor.
For how long?
For 11 days, Your Honor.
And how much did you pay the lawyer that you hired?
I paid him $1,300. On top of that, I had a $196 filing fee.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, Malicious prosecution suggests that charges were filed that had absolutely no basis, in fact. Was it malicious? I don't think so. I think it was stupid. Mr. Gotches, I believe that Mr. Fisher should not have any out-of-pocket expenses with regard to your complaint against him, and I'm awarding him $1,496 for the charges that you filed against him, which caused him to have to retain counsel. That's the judgment of the court. That's all. Believe me.
Yeah, this is case number 212 on the calendar in the matter of Bro versus Alvarado. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have seats, please.
According to your complaint, Ms. Bro, you and your boyfriend and the defendant were in a local bowling alley. According to you, the defendant liked your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was an altercation. According to you, the defendant assaulted you by smashing a beer bottle across your face, causing several teeth to be broken, and requiring a substantial amount of dental work.
Correct.
You're suing not only for the dental work, but also for your pain and suffering and lost wages. The defendant said you started it, right?
No, she started it, Your Honor.
That's just what I said.
I know.
Pay careful attention. So, when was this?
August 22nd.
Of this year?
Of this year.
And what time did this incident occur with the bottle?
About 12:15.
When did you first see the defendant in the bowling alley?
Not until after I returned from the restroom. Ryan was at the bar purchasing a beer, and he was agitated.
At what time?
About 12 o'clock.
Okay.
And I went to the bar to see what he was yelling at somebody, and there she was. I asked her, you know, are we going to have problems every time we see each other? You know, can you grow up? You're 33 years old. And she proceeded to walk away, and we got our beers. We walked over to our table where our friend was, and there she was bad-mouthing me.
Just a second. What was she saying?
She said that she's going to get me, and this isn't over, and, you know, I walked up to her, I'm like, can't you understand? You know, we just had a confrontation at the bar, you walked away. She proceeded to push me. I pushed her back, and then she hit me in the mouth with a beer bottle.
Where was he?
He was still at the bar buying our beer.
Stand up. Tell me your first name.
Ryan.
How old are you, Ryan?
I'm 20.
How do you know the defendant?
From like a general circle of friends, and you know, we're cool. And
what does that mean?
I mean,
cool? I don't understand.
I mean, we talk to each other. We never had problems. You know, we're somewhat friends. And then me and Diane started dating.
Did you ever go out with her
no,
socially?
No, ma'am. And me and Diane started dating, and all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, I can be so much better than Diane. You can live at my house rent-free. I'll take care of you." And
had you had anything to drink before midnight?
No, ma'am.
Had your girlfriend?
No, ma'am.
Now, you were at the bar. Had you finished purchasing those beers when this altercation took place?
Before I could even get them, you know, they were getting into it, and I ran over.
Just a second. While she was in the restroom, did the defendant speak to you?
Yes, ma'am.
What did she say to you?
She said, I haven't seen you for a while. What's been going on? And I told her, I was like, this is not the time. I said, Diane's here. You know, things are going to happen if, you know, you're talking to me. We already told you we don't want you in our life, so you need to go. And that's when Diane walked out of the bathroom and seen us and walked up to see what was going on.
And then she had this verbal confrontation with the defendant?
Yes, ma'am.
After she had the verbal confrontation, where did the defendant go?
She walked towards the exit door where the table was, where my buddy was sitting, and Diane went to walk over there, and as she walked over there, you know, I was still standing at the bar. Then all of a sudden, I seen security guards run over there. I seen them two going at it, so I ran over there, and...
When you say you saw them going at it, what did you see?
I mean, like, I seen them face to face, and then I seen a struggle. That's all I seen. I didn't see the bottle or anything like that.
Now, can you describe to me your girlfriend's face?
When I seen her, her lip was busted. She's like, look what she did to me. These two teeth were broken, and this one just blood, and you know, and she was acting hysterical.
What do you mean she was acting? What did she say?
And she's like, I can't believe this is going on. You know, just kept talking, working it up, and that's when the security guards pulled us off to the side and said, wait for the officer to get here.
What happened when the police arrived?
They took our statements, and then...
Do you have a police report?
Yes, ma'am.
May I see it, please?
I have a police report of the incident that happened at the bar, and also of a phone harassment complaint. After we left the bar, she called and left him 4 voicemails on his pager. We called the officer and had him come back over to my house to listen to the voicemail.
Okay. All right, Miss Alvarado, now let me have your version of the events.
Okay. My friend and my witness, Tanya, was with me. I was upstairs shooting pool, having a good time with my friends, and I was just done with my beer, and Tanya said, can you go down and get some more beer? And I was like, sure. I also have to go to the bathroom. I go downstairs, and I see Ryan off, not in the bar, he was off on the concession stand, standing there, and he turns to me and says, oh, hey, Cecilia, what's up? I never approached him, Your Honor. Okay.
Tell me what happened. Not what you didn't do, what you did do.
Okay. And so then he says, I just want to warn you that Diane is here, and she's wants to kick your. And
can I just
I then said, you know, I'm so tired of this, of her approaching me. I'm 33 years old. I have, you know, a good job, and I was harassed at work by her, and Ryan used to call me also at work. He would tell me to call him. Here's my pager, Cecilia. Here's my cell number. Call me. And no, and it's true.
She just talked to me, not to her.
Okay, well, anyway, and you know, I'm really upset about this because I have a good job, and I have the sheriff come.
I heard that you have a good job.
Okay.
You're 33 years old. He's
Right.
20.
No, Your Honor, he told me.
Just a second. But you're 33. He's 20.
Your Honor, I was led to believe that he was 22.
22. Okay.
What does the age matter? I was stuck in a
Let's
situation.
go what happened to 822.
Okay. Well, as I turned around, there's Diane right in my face. And she just says, what the, excuse my language, but she was like, what the, whatever. And I'm like, you know, I don't want any problems with you. I had my beer bottle. I had just a little bit of beer in it. I had it in my hand. And I have a scar, permanent scar on my arm where she grabbed me, pulled me forward, and goes to hit me with the beer bottle over my head. And in the police report, it doesn't even state that I had also blood and a welt on my head.
It doesn't say that, madam.
Exactly.
It does. No, listen to me. It doesn't say that. If the police who took this report were very clear, Miss Alvarado, they observed, according to them, a large welt on your hand.
Exactly.
If you had had blood in your scalp and a large welt in your scalp that you pointed out to them, they would have.
I did.
Why don't you let me finish?
Okay, I'm sorry, but
they would have included that in the police report.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When did you find out he was 20 years old?
Today.
So now you know. You know that he's a baby and you're not.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 22-year-old waitress Diane Groh is suing 33-year-old human resource manager Cecilia Alvarado for knocking out her teeth with a beer bottle.
So let's continue.
I stepped back, and it was just self-defense. After I had my hand like this, and her beer bottle hit my hand, I was trying to protect myself. And from just a reaction of, you know, someone attacking you, what are you supposed to do? And I was scared. I just closed my eyes and went like that. I didn't even realize I had hit her that hard, Your Honor. I would never have struck her. I felt bad after the incident. I was crying. Yes, I was hysterical because I was having a good time on a Monday night with my friends. She approached me, Your Honor. This isn't the first time she's, you know, antagonized me. Okay, and those harassment calls, they've harassed me, and they even threatened me as I was leaving, and my witness was with me in the car, and I was holding onto my head because I was crying, shaking. Diane, Ryan, and their friend Jimmy were threatening me, saying, watch your back, look out for yourself.
Were you a witness to the event? A witness to the actual event?
Yes, I was.
Step up. Tell me your name.
My name's Tanya.
Tell me what you observed on the evening of the 22nd of August.
Well, I told Cecilia, you know, for her to go ahead and get some beers because she was going downstairs. So then I went downstairs after she did, and then I'm like, to go see where she was. She was speaking with Diane, when all of a sudden I just see Diane's arm just strike right down, right on her head, and then I saw her hit her, and I didn't know if it was with a beer bottle or not. I just saw her strike her, and then after that, I just ran towards her, and then, you know, the bouncers and everybody was trying to tear them apart, and then that was it.
You went down to get more beers, right?
I went to go to the restroom also.
Okay, but you already had a beer in your hand. You told me you had a beer in your hand.
It was almost empty.
Why don't you let me finish my statement?
Okay.
You already said that you had a beer and that there was some left in it. Is that correct?
There was some left in it, yes.
Right. What time had you arrived at this bowling alley / pool hall?
We went to eat there first. It was around 7-ish, because we were there eating, and then we went upstairs.
to shoot pool.
When you were eating, did you have anything of an alcoholic nature to drink?
I had, well, we had a pitcher. That was it. And
A
that
what?
was a pitcher
A
of
beer?
Yeah.
While you were having dinner?
With food, right.
While you were having dinner. And then you went upstairs to shoot pool?
Right.
And how much did you have to drink when you went upstairs?
It was probably about 1 beer.
Maybe
I mean,
two?
No, it was just about 1 beer because we were going downstairs to get more.
All right, now let's get back to you, Miss Rowe.
Okay. First of all, she said that Ryan has a cell phone. He's never had a cell phone since we've been together. The concession stand is in the bowling alley, and she says she approached me at the concession stand.
Well, you have a couple of things to explain to me, madam.
Excuse
Okay.
me.
Okay? You confronted her, and I'm not excusing if what you allege happened the way you alleged it to happen. I'm not excusing that. But you confronted her twice. Not once, but twice. You sought her out. Initially, you told me you went up to her, got in her face, told her to leave you all alone, and then you followed her again. Yes, you did. You followed her again because you saw her talking to somebody at a table where you were going to be seated. According to you, this was somebody that you had had bad interaction with before. So both of those things weren't too smart. I will also tell you that the police officer, I'm going to get to her in a second, the police officer observed a fresh bruise on her hand. How do you think she got that? A large welt. How do you think she got that?
Maybe from pushing me, or, you know, when she fell back, or, you know, I pushed her back. Maybe her hand hit the table when she fell back. I don't know how she got a welt on her hand, but I didn't even have a beer. That's why Ryan was at the bar.
Just a second. So clearly there was a physical altercation between the two of you before anything happened with bottles, according to you. Is that right?
When we were at the table.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
So there was a physical altercation. That must have been a pretty hard shove.
She hit me first. Was I not supposed to defend myself?
Where did she hit you first?
She pushed me in my chest, and I pushed her back.
No, okay, that's a
and-
push.
Okay.
That's not a hit.
Well,
How did she get the welt on her hand?
I'm really not sure how she got the welt on her hand.
You certainly confronted her on both occasions, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Not smart. Now, my next question to you, Miss Alvarado, is this incident is over and you're hysterical. You're all upset, right?
Right.
So what's the first thing that you do? You go to your phone and you call him.
No, I didn't.
Oh, yes, you
No,
did.
I didn't, ma'am.
Oh, well, according to the police, you did.
They threatened me as I was leaving, and
They may have threatened you. The police say that they listened to the message over the phone
okay.
and heard you say, Ryan, this is Cece. Remember that?
Yeah, I guess.
Why don't you tell her what we did a month ago? Does that sound familiar? My question to you is, after you're so upset and distraught, why do you continue with this by picking up the phone and calling him?
Because I had, Your Honor, this has been going on for like 2 months. He is.
When did you find out he was 20 years old?
Ma'am.
When
Your
did you
Honor,
find out he was 20 years old?
Today.
So before today, you thought he was 22?
That is what he told me.
Okay, so before today, you thought he was 22. And he's got a 20-year-old girlfriend.
Well,
And
I
you're
thought-
33 years
I
old.
thought she was
Pay
23.
attention. So now you know. You know that he's a baby and you're not. So this terrible thing happened at the bar. Why are you continuing it by calling him on the phone?
I didn't continue calling him on the phone after this incident
4 times.
Are you telling me that this phone call the police... Shh. Are you telling me the police are making up this phone call
I'm
that they
not.
heard?
I'm not.
So you did call him.
But they called me at work also to harass me, and I have
I'm not
proof
talking
of
about
that.
at work. I'm talking about immediately after this incident on the 22nd. You got home and you called him.
I called him, but I didn't call him 4 times.
I didn't say 4 times. Did I
Okay,
say 4
well,
times? They said 4
that's
times. I
what
said
I'm
once.
thinking.
Pay careful attention.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She knew I was 20.
She thought you were 22. To me, there's no difference. You're a baby when you're 20 if you're a boy. You're a baby when you're 22 if you're a boy. And sometimes when you're 52 if you're a boy.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diane Bro says her front teeth were knocked out during a fight with Cecilia Alvarado. The women say the fight was over a man.
Why did you call him one time when you got home?
Because I was angry. I was really upset about this whole situation.
Well, right now, you're in a situation where you caused her substantially more injury than she caused you.
And I was sorry.
You are at the
Yeah,
police,
sorry
so
for
you
it.
didn't call up and say, I'm sorry. You called up and said, hey, why don't you tell her what we did a month ago and all the other stuff?
Because, Your Honor, I was upset about it because if it wasn't for him leading me on and telling me that their relationship was nothing, then I wouldn't have gone after him. I wouldn't have talked to him.
Let me see the dental reports.
May I say something, Your Honor?
Yes.
I've met Cecilia before, like probably a month before Diane became my girlfriend. And, you know, the whole time, you know, she knew I was 20. All my friends know I'm 20.
Don't tell me what she knows.
Okay.
Did you?
And
she thought you were 22. To me, there's no difference. You're a baby when you're 20 if you're a boy. You're a baby when you're 22 if you're a boy. And sometimes when you're 52
She called
if
me
you're a boy.
nonstop. She called me at my place of employment. They told me at work that if she continues on calling, they're going to write me up because she called me nonstop.
She's a little fanatic.
Yeah, and she called my house nonstop, paged me nonstop.
Ryan, pay careful attention. She may be a little bit of a nut.
Yes.
We all are.
And I don't know, and I'm not interested in knowing what happened a month before.
Okay.
You know, and she knows. Maybe your girlfriend doesn't know, but you know, and she knows. She should have been smart enough when she figured out how old you were and that you're a baby to back off and find somebody that's more age appropriate. Because there is no difference between 20 and 22. You got to find somebody who's 35 because this is not an appropriate match for you. A 20-year-old doesn't lead on a 33-year-old if they have any brains.
And me and Diane have also told her, you know, together that we don't want nothing to do with her if she's going to continue on like this. You know, me and Diane sat there and told her to leave us alone.
Try Diane and I.
Okay, Diane and I.
I just had to do that. Just,
sorry.
You understand?
Your Honor.
I understand.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You're supposed to be a mature adult. You're 33 years old.
Your Honor, she hit me over the head. What was I supposed to do?
I don't believe she, listen to me. I don't believe she hit you over the head.
Yes, she...
No, listen to me. I believe she pushed you. I believe you pushed her. I
How
believe
did-
you shoved her. I believe all of those things, but I do not believe that she hit you over the head with a beer bottle and that you had blood in a bump, because if you did, the police would have memorialized that in a very, I'm speaking, don't look pained to me, in a very detailed police report. I believe that. Now, I don't believe that you are blameless. I believe that you were involved with this incident and that you should not have confronted her. Your actual out-of-pocket expenses are $41.82.
I did miss 4 days of work.
Listen to me.
Okay.
You have to find that you are somewhat responsible for what happened. Because if you had stayed away from her, it wouldn't have happened. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
He's a big boy. If he wants to tell her to stay out of his life, he can do that. If he wanted to be stupid enough a month ago to do whatever he did a month ago that he hasn't shared with you, right? That's something that he's going to have to deal with if he acted like a fool. But you didn't have to go to her twice, especially since she had had a lot to drink that night. She got there at 7 o'clock. They had a couple of pitchers of beer, not just one.
No,
they
no.
drank. I'm speaking. I'm not stupid. I've lived a long time. I've lived longer than 33 years. Okay? You got there at 7, and this was 12 o'clock at night. You already had one beer bottle in your hand, right? You were down to get another one, and I assure you that that was not the first one that you consumed while you were upstairs playing pool. And you also consumed beer while you were having dinner, according to you, one pitcher. In any event, you're going to pay for her dental work. She's going to pay for her pain and suffering and for her missed work. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,182. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is case number 267 on the calendar in the matter of Campbell versus Fisher. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Miss Campbell, you lived with the defendant, Mrs. Fisher's father.
Correct.
And you've been together for how long?
Approximately 6 years.
And sometime the early part of this year, you and your boyfriend were going on vacation or holiday, and she was going to stay home and take care of not only the home, but a whole bunch of animals that you have.
Correct.
You were gone for several weeks.
Correct.
She did not do what she was supposed to do. She left the house unattended, left the animals unattended, as a result of which the house was pretty much destroyed. That's what you're suing for.
Correct.
You were subsequently married.
Yes.
This is your husband.
Yes.
You have a cross complaint, and your cross complaint is for some sort of harassment. Okay. When did Mrs. Fisher move in with you?
Approximately 3 years ago.
Is that right?
Yes.
And how old were you when you moved in?
I was about 16.
Where had you lived before?
In Arkansas with my grandfather.
So you moved back and lived with your dad and his girlfriend?
Yes.
And how long did you plan on being away?
4 weeks. Items I sell, and I'm a vendor at craft fairs and craft shows.
Did you have an arrangement with her with regard to caring for the animals when you were away?
Yes, I did.
What did you say to her and what did she say to you?
The conversation was between her and her boyfriend, Michael Fisher, at the time. They agreed to take care of the animals. He agreed to take her to and from work and to and from school because she was still in high school. They assured me that everything would be fine as it had been before.
And you had no concerns?
No.
When did you have an inkling that something wasn't right?
We couldn't reach them for several weeks. I mean, several weeks. Come 5 weeks later, she called us when we were on location at a market and informed us that she had moved out sometime right after we had left to go out of town.
Had you had any indication that she was moving out?
No, Your Honor.
What kind of animals do you have?
I raise hybrid wolves. I have 2 hybrid wolves at this time, 2 cats, and a parrot.
So 5 animals altogether?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you know that something was wrong with the animals? Did she tell you she was taking care of the animals?
She was pretty evasive to me, and I was very, very, very upset. We then called, myself and her father called John McNeely, who is a close friend of us, our family, to go and check on the animals and on my home. He then went over immediately and informed us that we needed to get home immediately, that the animals were not in good shape at all, and the house was totally trashed.
Did you come right home?
It took us 2 days. We're in the midst of having engine problems with our motorhome. Our motorhome is still in Georgia at this time because we had to drop everything, buy another vehicle, and come straight home. We were home within a day and a half.
What did you find when you got home?
My house was totally trashed, birdseed everywhere. Cat urine and feces had not been picked up or cleaned up all through the home. The backyard was totally trashed from where the animals had tried to get in the home because my dogs have never been outside all night, never. And they had been left outside for long, long periods of time. The inside of the house was, I mean, my furniture was broken. There was a multitude of things missing. My walls were dented and scratched. I couldn't, it was totally unbelievable.
Did you take any photographs?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
Can I see them?
Sure. I have at the very end what the house looks like now, and also what the house, what the dogs look like now. And I understand that they're not very good pictures. I'm an amateur at that. It was just something I thought I needed to do.
When you came home, was the house locked up?
Yes, it was.
What items did you find missing?
The dressers, there was 3 dressers that were in Leslie's room. They were missing. They were returned, and that was the condition they were turned in the photos. There was $250.
Who returned them?
They did, on police order.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Why did you take the dressers?
They were mine.
But the police told you to return them?
Yes.
What else was missing?
$250 cash out of my safe deposit box, along with her Social Security card, her prescription for her contacts and glasses, her title to her car.
That was all in your safe deposit box?
Yes, Your Honor. Jewelry, clothing, bedding, food.
All right, let's talk about the safety deposit box. You went into the safety deposit box to get your stuff out?
I went and got my stuff when they asked me to get the papers for their motorhome. That's the only time I went into it. Title to my car was in a manila envelope, sort of like this, that was in my room. It was never in their box.
Social Security card?
It was, yes.
Where was that?
It was in their box.
Did you take it?
Yes. Mike was there, and so was John.
Who's Mike?
My husband.
Who's John?
My witness.
Step up, please. John, what's your last name?
McNeely.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding you going into the safety deposit.
Rose and Leon had called me when their motorhome broke down and asked me to go over and help Leslie and Michael try to find the warranty papers for the engine.
You actually went into the safety deposit box with them?
No, I was looking through the papers that Leslie had already pulled out, had them on the counter, seeing what she had, making sure that they were the right papers, and going through, getting phone numbers and stuff to call Rose and Leon with to give them for the warranty for the motor.
Were you still living in the house at the time that you went through the safety deposit box?
Yes, I was.
When did you leave?
I completely moved out the day, what was it, the day before they came home? Because
But
we had
you weren't
3
staying
cats.
in the house.
We had 3 cats, and when I finally completely moved all my stuff out, I took
Mrs.
my
Fisher,
cat and bought stuff.
we're not going to play games with each other. I'm not talking about completely moving out. When did you cease living there on a full-time basis?
What day was that?
Don't ask him. How much after they left
think
did
it
you
was probably
start
a week.
living with your now husband?
I think it was probably a week.
And you had some stuff that you left there, so you would go back periodically.
No, I would take care of the animals too.
Periodically?
No, every day.
Okay. Well, the devastation that I saw, for instance, around the parrot's cage, let's talk about that, and the kitty litter boxes, that's more than a day's worth of cleanup.
What do you... To clean the litter boxes, you did that once a week. She told me you have to do it once a week. Clean 2 litter boxes. It was in my room.
He wasn't living there in the house with
No,
you?
Your Honor.
Okay, so
no.
your arrangement
He was not
with
allowed
him.
to be in the home, and only at certain times, because I was trying to keep Leslie from doing something that she might be sorry for. He's 30 years old, Your Honor.
He's 29.
She was 18 at the time, Your Honor. I feel that this is just a stab in my back. I brought a child up, tried to give her a good home. I did
why did you
everything
treat me
for
so
you,
bad?
Leslie.
Listen. We don't do that here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If I knew all this was going to happen, I would have stayed.
Stayed where?
Arkansas.
Well, if you stayed in Arkansas, you wouldn't have met your husband.
That's better than all the hell they put me through.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rose Campbell says Leslie Fisher was left to watch her home while she was on vacation. Rose says Leslie abandoned her home and her animals. Leslie and her husband are countersuing for harassment and defamation of character.
Miss Fisher, can you tell me why you chose to wait until after they left?
Because I know they'd put me...
To move out. Why?
Because I know they'd do this to me. They wouldn't let me move out, because I tried to move out more than once.
So it was your plan to move out. Is that right?
Yes, and they knew it.
No, don't tell me that they knew it. They wouldn't have known that you were going to move out.
They didn't know
and
the
leave,
exact.
And leave all their animals unattended. So this was your plan. And this was your plan with your husband?
Yes.
And when did you formulate this plan?
We talked about it for a few weeks.
Before they left?
Yeah.
So you weren't honest with Miss Campbell or your father when you said that you would be living in the house all the time and taking care of the animals.
They didn't ask me to live in the house. It was just sort of like telling me to do everything.
But you had been living in the house
Yeah, I
full
had
time
been.
and taking care of the pets when they went on
Because
this
I
trip.
had to. They didn't ask me. We didn't, write down papers saying that they would pay me or we had an agreement or anything.
Miss Fisher, let me ask you this question. You moved in when you were 16.
Yes.
Were you working?
Not when I was 16, no.
Were you working when you were 17?
Yes.
Full-time or part-time?
Part-time, because I had to go to school full-time.
You lived in the house. They paid all the expenses, right? And you had certain chores to do.
Yes.
Does that sound unreasonable to you?
Not then.
Well, then you turned 18. When did you meet him?
I knew him when I first moved up to Ohio.
When you were 16?
Yes.
And how old was he?
He was 26.
Okay. Mr. Fisher, what kind of work do you do, sir?
Body man, I fix cars. Frame.
Is that your own business?
No.
You work for somebody else?
Yes, I do.
You're working on the books, of course.
I should be.
But you're not.
He better be paying me on the books.
Well, you would know, Mr. Fisher, whether you're being paid on the books. Either you get a check that says this is how much they take out for taxes and Social Security, or they don't take out for taxes and Social Security. So you're paid on the books or off the books?
The boss told me he was going to be paying me on the books. He should be paying me on the books. If he is or isn't, I don't know. I do not want to take a check from the man because the checks will bounce.
So you're paid in cash?
I tell him to give me $400 cash and take care of the taxes for it.
Miss Fisher, There's some indication in these papers that you were charged with animal cruelty or animal abandonment. Is that right?
Yes. I've got a misdemeanor for it, yes.
So you were convicted?
Well, it was the easiest way to get out of the court case, yeah.
So you were convicted?
Yes.
And you pled guilty?
No contest. Same as guilty, yes.
So that there really is no issue as to whether you abandoned these animals, because the burden of proof here is much less than in a criminal proceeding. The only issue is one of damages. Now, what were the damages to your animal?
Well over $4,000, Your Honor, but I'm not claiming that because I feel that some of it was done previous to her doing what she did to me. I'm claiming $1,800 to repair the couch, to change the door locks because they did get keys made for my doors, and my doors, cleaning the walls, repairing the walls, the carpeting, the vet bill.
How much was the vet bill?
The vet bill was over $380.
All right, tell me about your counterclaim.
They harassed us. She harassed us on the phone.
Well, tell me about it.
Well, we've got the tape right here if you'd like to listen to it.
Leslie, this is Rosie. I just wanted you to know that if I don't have you face to face and you're not woman enough to come and talk to me about what has gone on, not only am I going to prosecute you, but I'm also going and headed to the school with 2 documents. One to Mr. to inform him that you aren't living in the Meta school district anymore, and you'll have to go to night school to finish. And I think Mikey is going to have some problems also. The only way that we can remedy this, Leslie, one is I don't want you to come back. You are not welcome in my house after you come here once. Just to tell me where my stuff is, why you left it, why you did what you did to these animals. That's all I have to say to you. Not only have you broken my heart, you also have broken all of my trust. Obviously, you have no one now. You have not me, not my family. My daughter's on her way over here to calm me down. You don't have anybody in your family. You have your sister whom you are just like. Only thing is, she was with him a little longer than 3 months. Also, you have nobody. You have nobody now. Well, kid, you got a long and hard road to work. I hope you make it.
Have anything else you want me to listen to?
We have a videotape of our wedding right after. There were still people there from the ceremony, and my dad, and we know John was there, but we're not sure if Rosie was in the van. They came and harassed us.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She's into the vending business, basically I consider a carny, and she...
I beg your pardon.
It's my own personal opinion, so please.
Listen, your judgment's so lousy so far, I'm not interested in your opinion.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Rose Campbell says Leslie Fisher owes her for a trashed home and neglecting her animals.
The tape is not harassment, madam.
She almost got me kicked out of school, fired
Let me
from
tell
my
you what
job.
she's saying to you. She's saying you lived in her home, she trusted you, and you violated their trust. It's clear to me that you violated their trust because you snuck around, waited until, with a plot, waited until they left. And then as soon as they left, you moved out. And you may have come back every few days to take care of the animals, to feed them, give them water, do whatever, but that's not what was anticipated. What was anticipated is that you would be living there. There's a difference between living there and going to feed the cat every couple of days. Miss Fisher, you and I know that. And I'm telling you something. That's not harassment on that tape. What that is hurt. Because what she really said was, I'm going to do all these things to you, none of which are illegal. But all I want you to do is come here and explain to me why you did this to me. Why you did it the way you did it. Let me ask you this question, sir.
Huh.
You're older.
Yes.
You're supposed to be more responsible.
Yes.
Why did you encourage Miss Fisher to leave the house without letting them know?
I did not.
You didn't?
No, I told her straight out, point blank,
yes,
it's her choice. If she wants to move out, I ain't going to stop her. I ain't going to talk her into it. I ain't going to talk her out of it. It's her choice.
Just a second. Rose and Leon were going to be away for 2 months.
We were there every single day. We have a picture of her mailbox if you would like to take a look-see at it. She's got a small mailbox. She's into the vending business. Basically, I consider a carny. And she...
I beg your pardon.
Miss Campbell, Miss
I
Campbell.
personally believe...
Miss Campbell, look at me. Please don't talk to him. Don't talk to him.
I'm a nurse, in-home nurse.
It's my own personal opinion, so please.
Well, I'm not interested. You listen, your judgment's so lousy so far. I'm not interested in your opinion. Say no more. Just tell me what happened at the wedding, please, so I can
Leon
finish.
and John showed up for sure.
I'm not interested in anybody else other than Miss Campbell.
Well, they showed up in Rose Campbell's van. I have no idea if Rose was actually in the van or not. It's hard to tell. Van has tinted windows.
So?
I have no idea if she was...
Well, I have no idea either.
I figured birds of a feather flock together. I figured Leon was probably in the van with Rosie and John, all three of them.
Just a second. Miss Campbell, please, I told you, I don't want to say it again. I don't want you to speak to him. Miss Fisher, have you spoken to your father since all of this happened?
No.
And of course you haven't spoken to Miss Campbell.
That's right.
Are you a little sorry it happened?
If I knew all this was going to happen, I would have stayed.
Stayed where?
Arkansas.
Well, if you stayed in Arkansas, you wouldn't have met your husband.
That's better than all the hell they put me through.
Wouldn't have met Mike if you stayed in Arkansas. You may have good reason to cry.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Let's take care of the counterclaim first. The counterclaim is nonsense. And there is absolutely no evidence that she was involved in any harassment at your wedding, other than the fact that your husband thinks that birds of a feather flock together. Maybe he's right. There is no question that since Mrs. Fisher has been found guilty of abuse of animals, so there's no question that she did it. There is also no question that you cannot prove that they actually stole money out of your safety deposit box. But I really believe that since you filed your lawsuit against both,
Yes, Your Honor.
and you indicated to me that both of them were there when you had this conversation,
Correct,
is that
Your
right?
Honor.
Yes.
He had a certain responsibility. He accepted that responsibility. He was also part of the plan, and he was the older member that was part of the plan, that they were certainly not going to fulfill this agreement, at least the way you anticipated it would be fulfilled. In any event,
everything in this world is temporary. Life changes. People come and go. And seasons never last. Always remember that your present situation is not your final destination.
वीडियो बनाना बंदा है भी मौज भी हो चलता है इसकी वीडियो बन रही हो ना वैसे ही इसमें रोलाने लग जाता है वीडियो बन रही है चले चले सारी प्लेट के चालू देखे